This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up.
All right. Well, better late than never. As we have a few technical difficulties this morning, we got Greg Johnson in the room on the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. Greg, we got pretty surprising news out of the legislature. Marathon debate well into the night, and the 50% property tax cut is back on, sort of in its original form. That's a stunner. What next?
Yeah, well, not really, because it was pared down and kind of changed in the Senate. But I think a lot of people kind of expected the House would put all that stuff back in it.
Like the House wouldn't like the let's take 50% off only during that COVID period. Like they wouldn't like that, and they would go back.
Or to make it 25%, which was brought back up to 50%, and stuff. Yeah. So, but we'll see, because now it goes back to the Senate for concurrence. But they may say, "Whoa, this is totally different from what we sent." So we'll see what happens with it. Now, but it shows the Freedom Caucus has the votes, and that's why they push so hard to get the majority.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, we shouldn't have been surprised that the House would say, "Wait a minute, we're going to put it back the way we had it." Pulled out that one amendment. Passed Senate File 69 is what we're talking about. Passed 4219 late last night, and now it goes back to a Senate committee that has to reconcile the differences, right? The JCC has to say, well, we got this one and that one. How do we make one bill out of this?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they still have to. They still have to hammer some things out, but it's much closer. I think the biggest debate hasn't been so much about that the cut be 50%. It's whether there's these things to backfill the revenue.
Yeah.
People say, well, if we're just if we're cutting it, but then we're finding other money to put in there. Is it really a cut? Are you cutting? Well, you are, because that revenue isn't coming in, so it's coming from somewhere. But people are saying, hey, look, it's to make it a true cut, just cut it and deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some like Representative Steve Harshman Casper warned that this is going to send us right off a fiscal cliff. Republican Representative John Eklund said it's a disaster, and we're talking about the backfill, the money that will not now be available through property taxes to fund schools and community services. Maybe, I mean, this bill would be for 2 years, Greg. Maybe it's a case of, try it, find out those counties and municipalities that are sitting on surpluses actually have to do some budgeting, and then other counties, and we fear for Niobrara and others, if they really get hit so hard that they cannot pay their fire and police and the most basic of things, maybe there could be emergency measures made. But I mean, right now it's a 2-year bill with no backfill. Let's see. It certainly offers property tax relief, but at what expense? I guess we won't know until we know.
Yeah. And people, I mean, some people say, it'll be a disaster. It'll get these agencies and other states. They're kind of bloated already. They, just because they don't have everything they want doesn't mean they're getting cut. That it's a disaster. So it's it's a complicated debate, and that's why that's why it takes so long. That's why they debated so long.
Yep.
But it's also one of the main. It's also one of the main, if not the main, reason that people elected a lot more Freedom Caucus representatives, because there a lot of people in Wyoming are saying, "Hey, this is what we want."
Yeah, definitely cuts to government, kind of like what's going on federally with Doge. Cut the bloat and give people some relief over, inflation, grocery prices, and property tax. This is immediate relief. Previous efforts have failed, and the Freedom Caucus has delivered. Let's see if this gets to the governor's desk.
We need a mascot for all of this, Jake.
What?
A mascot for all of this.
Oh.
And I say it should be a goat, the bloat goat.
The bloat goat.
The bloat goat. Should we pay for this? Nah. The bloat goat says nah.
And Greg, I just thought of that I'm a big fan of those Thompson sisters in Yoder, the rodeo girls. And they are some of the fastest goat tires in the state of Wyoming. So that'll be they'll tie up the goat blow. Oh my goodness. We got something going here.
Right. We got enough goat tires around here. We could be tying up these bloat goats all over the place in Wyoming.
Somebody get me Hadley on the phone. She will tie up that blow goat in about 4.2 seconds.
So
she's
quick. Solving these problems right here on the show.
I like it. Like it a lot. What else is happening in the news? I've read through everything. There's some little bit of everything. Crime. There's another accident in Green River, and we should be clear as to where this is. Let me look it up on the Google map and show you, because I know where it is. But yeah, 2 fatality accident right outside of Green River. Oh man.
Yeah, not part of the detour.
Yes.
Through the town, but yeah, just unfortunate. I mean, unfortunate to happen anywhere, but unfortunate to happen there with all that's going on to make up for the other tunnel, for the tunnel crash.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I mean, yes, we hear that it has nothing to do with the detour, and it's not near the tunnel, but I wonder if it's not traffic that's making a choice to reroute itself on Highway 374 in order to get around the mess, and I'll show you why.
Yeah, it could be.
Here is, let me make sure I'm sharing it. Okay, yeah. Here is Green River, the town. Here's Interstate 80. Here are the tunnels. You can see they're grayed. Interstate 80 is like yellow. All of a sudden, you're grayed out. Those where the tunnels are. And the detour, the official detour, is taking you into the town of Green River. Highway 374, where it meets 372, is up the road to the northwest, right here. 374, it's at Peru Cutoff Road. 372 meets 374. So it's on an alternate, parallel route to 180 and I-80. So I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it, but it's, definitely an unrelated crash to what happened Friday in the tunnels. We don't have ID on either of the two involved, do we?
I don't believe so. The report was just coming out last night.
Okay. Well, I don't know if Secretary of State Chuck Gray is going to be satisfied with the change to the ballot Dropbox ban. He said he wants to read the amendment more. House Bill 131 is altered a little bit. We're going to do away with the boxes, but we're going to allow maybe a slit in a courthouse, kind of like where you, I don't know what it's kind of like. I guess, like the post office. You can just shove it right inside the courthouse. This would take away, theoretically, somebody being able to monkey around with a box, even though the boxes are fixed to the ground. Someone could rip them out or do something to them. Perhaps this is a little more secure. I can't imagine, though, Secretary Gray is going to be happy with this amendment. He's reserving his opinion until he's read it, actually. But Senator Brian Boner Douglas brought the amendment, and he said, let's allow these sort of mail slots to put your election ballot directly into the building. The committee passed House Bill 131 on a 3-2 vote. It was close. Boner, Steinmetz, and Dan Dockstetter, who we're going to talk with tomorrow, voted yes. Bill Landon and Cal Case, no. So it's out of committee.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's an interesting idea. It's not dropping it into some separate box. It's there, and I think there's requirements too that there be surveillance on it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like if you're at an ATM or something, they could see you out there working the thing.
Right. I mean, and there can be surveillance on a ballot box. To me, it's only slightly more secure. I mean, what can you do? What can you not do to this than you could do to a box? You can still shove firecrackers in it or an incendiary device. You could still stuff it with fake ballots. You could do everything except take it away. I don't know. I don't know why it's all that more important. If you were going to go the ban on someone dropping a ballot and leaving, like, here you go, here's your ballot, whether it's a box or a building, just do the ban. I don't know. I think it's just a weak compromise, me personally. We'll see what Secretary Gray wants to do about that. Anything else you noticing?
Yeah. Did you watch any of that body cam video?
Oh, I didn't see.
That was pretty. That was dramatic. I mean, they different angles, and it showed the whole incident with the guy with the bat, and he just kept threatening him and kept going after him, and
yeah. I didn't see where to see the video.
There's a link right at the top.
Yeah, I guess I'm too dumb to figure it out.
We embed those videos, but the Thermopolis Police Department made the video private, so nobody could do that.
Okay, got it.
We posted several screenshots. We right in the first sentence, there's a link that takes you to the video.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing it now. Yeah. So I don't know. Without having, well, they do have a taser. The taser.
Yeah, they tried to tase him first.
Okay.
It didn't work. He kind of laughed at him.
All right, because that's my first question.
It looks like he's wearing a hoodie or something, so I don't know if it didn't get through.
Yeah. I mean, oh man, we all wish it could be handled differently when it's firearm versus bat and it's two guys on one. But cops should not have to deal with this, honestly. Anyway, they're all cleared, by the way. This is just later after the fact showing you video how it went down. Did the man have to be shot and killed? Well, you decide. Watch the video. This guy just wouldn't quit with the whole bat thing. Yeah. That's tough.
He was pretty out of it. I mean, he was.
Oh yeah, he was.
Cop cars. He was.
Yeah, he was raving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can handle a lot of ways. You can just try another taser shot. These guys don't have on hand, I mean, as a regular course of business, the rubber bullet option. But Jarrett Gatula, 41-year-old, this happened on September 9th, 2024. Thermop Police Officer Ryan Loving, Hot Springs County Sheriff Max Lee Crane, dealing with a man with a metal baseball bat. Yeah, I almost always side with the coppers. There are some that are pro law enforcement that no matter how egregious it sounds, I say, well, let's see the body cam. Let's make sure. I'm one that says I don't even need to see the body cam. If you're ranting and raving and high on something and drunk and swinging a metal bat, all bets are off as to what's going to be the end result of that. Yeah, you kind of bought whatever's coming. But yeah, that's me. That's interesting story. Claire McFarland has it complete with a video. If you want to watch like real cop kind of stuff, if you're into cop shows and stuff, this is real life body cam.
Yeah.
Talk about Read the Room, organizer of a coyote whacking contest in the same county where Cody Roberts whacked his wolf, is receiving death threats. Surprise.
It's a coyote hunting contest.
Yes.
Because we can't call it whacking because wolf whacking is a specific way of killing wolves. That's what running them down with snowmobiles is wolf whacking. So that's not what they're doing to the coyotes. They are shooting them.
Yeah, they're putting a 223 in their ear. It's all semantics. Yeah, it's an annual thing. It's done this time of year because that's when it's easiest to hunt coyotes. Coyotes are considered pretty much a nuisance in the West. They certainly are in Sublette County. The Song Dog Shootout is receiving some flack.
Well, yeah, coyote hunts are held all over Wyoming and all over the West, really. Pretty much like prairie dog hunts. Prairie dogs get into your land and they're real, destructive to it. And coyotes are kind of the same for ranchers. So they kind of do the same thing. So it's not like an unusual thing, but some groups have picked up on, oh, well, this one's happening near where the Daniel Wolf happened, and there's no no relation to the Daniel Wolf. They're not doing it in response or in protest or anything like that. They're just doing it. But and whether you want to seize on that as another way to bring up the Daniel Wolf, that's fine. But it kind of crosses the line if the organizer of the event is getting death threats from people.
Oh yeah. That's never right. We know that. But it's also a little bit tone deaf and a lack of reading the room. I know you got the the whole thing scheduled, and this is just a regular thing, and you shouldn't have to feel pressure to cancel it. But I'll tell you another thing. This is not good optics for Wyoming, and it never has been. These events are becoming less and less popular with the general public. Now, there's a certain amount of Wyoming rednecks that like doing this. Me personally, I don't like killing when it's a sport. And these events are often made a sport. There's a prize given to whoever kills the most coyotes. You bring them to the place in a truck and you pile them up like cordwood. I'm not down with that. And a lot of people who don't live in Wyoming, don't understand the Western way, are really not down with that. When they see it, it's got to be discouraging. Yeah, I understand killing coyotes. If coyotes are getting into your stuff, knock them down. I got no problem with that. But when you make sport of it and make it a contest and giving away prizes for how many kills, yeah, you're getting into some not death threat territory. That's never right. But you're going to get some pushback. Got to tell you.
Yeah, they're doing this anyway. It's just, I don't know. I don't know that I totally agree with that.
That's fair.
I think people, it happened. People have been doing it forever, and now people are just others are starting to notice it. It's, I kind of, like I said, I kind of attribute it to, you need to get rid of prairie dogs. So you invite a bunch of people to go out and have a go at the prairie dogs.
I'm not particularly down with that either, honestly.
No, and a lot of people aren't. I understand that. I'm not hugely in favor of it, but it doesn't bother me either. So.
Yeah, and I really cringe when people try to take away Wyoming things because it's not what they do in Vermont. Like, yeah, that makes me mad. Like, fine, do what you want to do in Vermont. This is what we do in Wyoming. I'm all about that. And I don't like people telling us how to do and how to be. But there's certain things that just, I don't know, they don't taste right to me. We could discuss that further. That would be a good discussion. But that story's in the news. Check it out in the Cowboy State Daily. Mark Hines has it. Organizer of a coyote predator hunting contest in Sublette County says she's under fire, getting death threats because people are connecting it to the whole wolf deal, and not a surprise, but not fair.
Yeah, if you want to protest and stuff, that's fine, but it really doesn't have anything to do with that.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you think about squatters?
Yeah, I like this bill because you hear horror stories about, not that I feel, I have a bleeding heart for landlords. My present landlord accepted, because he might be listening. I've really never had a landlord was on my Christmas card list. I'll tell you that. But I feel for them when, they're trying to do maybe the good thing, the right thing, and rent their property, and they find themselves in situations that are horror stories. You hear about it in like San Francisco, where someone can't get someone out of their property. Maybe it went unrented for 4 months while you were thinking about the next dude, slips in and takes up residence. And it can be, without proper laws, it can be difficult to get them out, to call the cops.
Yeah.
This bill would help.
In a lot of cases, the cops can't do anything because it's like a civil thing. And, they can't do anything. This bill that's, moving through the legislature, does give local law enforcement a little more ability to act on stuff. And you're right. I mean, there are landlords who take advantage and aren't good landlords. However, it's not like, all landlords, you don't get to just live in their property for free and not leave. And I mean, this is these people's, livelihood. It's like saying, well, it's okay if I go into your grocery store and steal stuff every day.
Yeah.
I can put you out of business.
Right. And right now, landlords don't have that lawful recourse. They can't call police because, like you said, it's a civil matter. So,
I mean, if you try to squat while you're buying a car, you take it for a test drive. And say, well, I'm not getting out.
Right.
They get you for stealing the car.
No, Senate File 6 would address that, would make it easier for landlords as long as they can prove that this is not a renter. This is not a renter's spouse or girlfriend or something. I mean, there's stipulations, but it would allow them to call the sheriff and have the sheriff deliver eviction, get out. You can't be a true
squatter.
Yes.
It can't be just someone who's, they're letting their their girlfriend's family live there.
Yeah.
And then they break up and then they're out there squatting. I want to kick them out. That's not this type of situation. It's, if it's a real squatter in your place.
This cleared the House of Representatives 58-3 votes, so pretty smooth sailing. It'll go back to the state Senate, or did go back to state Senate yesterday. Now, a similar bill that would address landlords, or rather fake landlords, Senate File 11, now pending in the House. And I have seen examples of this in Jackson where somebody purports to be a landlord. This is my property, pay me first month, last month, and damage, and they're not a property owner at all. Or they may be subletting the place from someone else, like they're not the landlord.
But presenting themselves as, that happens. That happens. You instead of squat, if they find a place that nobody's living in, instead of squatting into themselves, they'll just collect cash payments for people who don't know they're squatting in there.
Yeah. Some of these scams are just out and out. There's no such property. And then some are like it is an actual property and somebody's finagled a way to know it's empty. Or they may actually be renting it and then re-rent it for double the rate, like posing as the actual owner of the property or the landlord. And yeah, Senate File 11 would address that. And that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, my dad would used to say if he was concerned that you were in the bathroom too long, he would be, hey, if you don't get out of there soon, you're going to start having squatters' rights.
Yeah. Literally in the bathroom.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. Maybe that's where he was heading. Yeah. We got a couple of crime stories from Claire. I don't know. We got time for maybe to touch on one more. What do you think?
Sure. How about the guy who threw bleach on his romantic rival and got convicted of it for being a deadly weapon?
I was going to bring that up. Glenn Green, 48-year-old. The high court said bleach is a weapon, especially when it's prefaced with, surprise, mother effer. I know you've been with my wife. Yeah. I mean, almost anything's a weapon after you open with that statement, you know? He threw bleach on the dude. That doesn't feel good. Oh, to get that in your eyes.
And then he told him, now you're going to die slowly.
Yeah.
So, it kind of shows that he intended for it to be a deadly weapon there, too. So
100%. Liquid bleach can be a deadly weapon. That was decided by the Wyoming Supreme Court on Tuesday. And that decision comes after a man bleached his romantic rival's face. He challenged the felony conviction, but the high court said, no, you naughty. Yeah, good stuff. Good stories. Appreciate you, Greg.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Jake.
Hey, man, have a great Thursday. A little bit of a truncated first hour of the Cowboy State Daily Show, but yeah, we got it figured out. We got it rolling.
Make up for it with truncated awesomeness.
Okay, we got to pack more into less.
That's right.
We could do that. We'll do more. Right. Do more with less.
Have a good one.
You too. Hey, we got to get to top of the hour. It's the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. It's Wendy Coors News next. We'll see you on the other side.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Thursday, February 20th. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Corr. Wyoming often sends its commodities out to other states, losing all or substantially all of the item's value before getting those finished products back at much higher costs. But that might not be entirely so for nuclear. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that the abundance of Wyoming's uranium reserves has at least one company seriously considering a uranium fuel manufacturing plant.
BWX Technologies, they're a Virginia-based company, and right now they have a plant there in Virginia that makes their fuel, but they've got enough demand here in Wyoming, and there's enough uranium reserves here in Wyoming that they think they might want to just build a plant to manufacture that fuel here. And so if we're doing that here, we're getting all of that value, we're getting all of those jobs. It could be a huge economic boost.
A representative for the company said BWXT has not yet made a decision on whether to locate its fuel manufacturing plant here, but it is among things the company is in the midst of battle testing with the help of various Wyoming vendors, including L&H Industrial out of Gillette. A bill meant to bolster enforcement against home squatters cleared both chambers of the Wyoming legislature Wednesday, and if there's no need to compromise on its amendments, will soon go to the governor's desk. If it becomes law, Senate File 6 will let a homeowner ask law enforcement agents to remove a squatter from their home, with some strict guidelines, though, according to Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
When you call police now and you say someone's squatting in my home, it can be difficult for them to just oust that person forcibly because there's questions like, what if it's hard to verify when someone has a right to be there and someone doesn't? So that's something that police actually don't like to monkey with. So this bill puts in some accountability checks. So on the one hand, if the homeowner is willing to swear to a test, like this is not a tenant, this is not my boyfriend, we're not in ongoing litigation over this home, things like that, then police will take that person out under this bill. If you're found attesting things falsely, there can be consequences for that.
A similar bill is now pending in the House. Its focus isn't on squatters, but on fake landlords. If it becomes law, Senate File 11 will add a new felony to Wyoming's fraud laws so that a person who intentionally uses a false document to gain property or a right to that property could face up to 10 years in prison and $10,000 in fines. A California company said it might want to put a factory in Natrona County to build tiny nuclear power plants, but says it needs to store its radioactive spent fuel. However, a Wyoming House committee voted down a bill Wednesday that would have allowed for that storage. That's according to Cowboy State Daily's David Madison.
Think of them as like the generator that you hook up to your RV, except it runs on atomic fuel and can generate a megawatt, which is enough to power 750 homes. So in order for Wyoming to roll out the red carpet for this new employer that could bring 250 good jobs to Wyoming, the state needs to pass some legislation allowing the storage of spent nuclear fuel.
Radiant Industries is looking at Natrona County and potential locations in other states by constructing new mini reactors, refueling them, and storing spent fuel at a single location. The company's CEO said Radiant could build a strong manufacturing business in Wyoming. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Are you fabulous and 55? Are you ready to use your valuable time and talent to give back? Join Serve Wyoming through the AmeriCorps Seniors Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP, and make a positive impact on your community. With a lifetime of skills and experiences, you're exactly what your community needs. Whether you're itching to lend a hand or your organization could use some extra support, we've got you covered. Call Sarah Roberts at Serve Wyoming at 307-234-3428 or RSVP at servewyoming.org.
Well, homeschool parents in Wyoming are closer to having more autonomy over what they teach their kids. House Bill 46, also known as the Homeschool Freedom Act, is sailing through the state legislature. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck reports that the bill advanced Wednesday to the Senate floor with a recommendation that it pass.
If they're in Wyoming and they're going to homeschool their child as a kindergartner, they don't have to contact the school district at all. If they have someone in the school district, there would still be a notification involved, but there would be no longer a requirement to submit a curriculum each year.
The Wyoming Senate Education Committee voted 4-0 to move House Bill 46 out of committee without any amendments. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on CowboyStateDaily.com. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.
Wyoming is a big state. There are so many stories to tell, and here at Cowboy State Daily, we pride ourselves in bringing those stories to you every day. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. Every day, host Wendy Corr and I talk to the experienced journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily Video News every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake continues on this Thursday version, February 20. February. It's a hard month to say. Feb 20. We got a special guest coming up this hour. Hopefully, we got to hook him up all the way from Europe. But it's going to be exciting. You'll never believe it who we got coming on this hour. You don't want to miss it. I'll give you a hint. It sounds like this. He's the son of a blues legend. That's right.
Boom, 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 boom.
John
Bang, 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 bang.
Lee
Boom, 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 boom.
Hooker
Bang, bang,
Jr.
bang, bang.
Delta Blues legend. His son, John Lee Hooker Jr.,
When you walk that
will be
walk,
on the show, and he's going to tell us how he went from blues
you knocks me out,
to blessing,
out off of my feet.
playing the blues, to singing the good news. He's now Reverend John Lee Hooker. And we'll have him on the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake later this hour. You are going to love this interview. What a guy. John Lee Hooker Jr. on the show in just about, 20 minutes, whenever we can get him on. Beamed in satellite. We're going to need some technology to do it, but I'm excited. I mean, his daddy was the king of blues, no doubt about it. And we're going to do that interview in a little bit, right after Don Day. Don Day will be the opening act for John Lee Hooker Jr. How about that? Day weather forecast. We didn't get a chance to drop that on you, but it looks like this. Areas of fog in Casper before 10, mostly cloudy, 37. It'll be a little foggy in Lander as well, with highs around 34. Southwest Wyoming, you're seeing winter down there. I mean, chain law in effect on I-80. We'll talk about the roads in a minute. But it is full-on winter down in the Southwest. Evanston, winter weather advisory up until 11 tonight. 3 inches of snow likely before 2 o'clock today. Rock Springs, you're getting it as well. A couple inches of snow going on now until tonight. It's getting as far up as Pinedale a little bit. Slight chance of snow in Pinedale in the late morning. Otherwise, cloudy, 34. Afton, maybe just a little bit foggy with highs around 30. In northwest Wyoming, slight chance of snow afternoon with highs 35. Jackson, chance of snow mainly early morning. I don't see any right now. Otherwise, cloudy, 36 in Jackson, Wyoming. Thermop, patchy fog in the early morning, otherwise mostly cloudy, 35. Cody, you'll top out 35 as well for some morning fog. Buffalo, partly sunny, 33. That is going to feel pretty good. And Sheridan, you're going to be 35, and that's above zero. What a departure from where you were 2 days ago when you were kind of 35 with a minus in front of it. Record-setting cold in Sheridan. We'll talk about that more with Don Day later. But what a difference, 60-degree swing in Sheridan over the last 48 hours. Partly sunny today, so glad you lived through it, Sheridan. You can take one of your layers off today. Gillette, mostly sunny, highs around 25, could be gusty. Newcastle, sunny, 26. Torrington, down on the plains, becoming gradually mostly sunny today with highs 25, 24 in Lusk with plenty of sun. Chance of snow in the morning just after 11 in Cheyenne. Otherwise, partly sunny, highs 26. Laramie, chance of snow, cloudy with highs 36. Rawlins, you might see snow today. Slight chance, not a lot of accumulation. 34, the high, mostly cloudy. Saratoga, slight chance of snow, highs 35. What's it doing your commute? Well, first, let's take a look at the weather map, find out what you're doing right here and now across the state of Wyoming. And, we didn't get to this last hour. It's why we're doing it now in the 7 o'clock hour. A little bit of disturbance coming through Alpine right now. You're probably seeing some snow showers down in the southwest part of the state. Evanston, yeah, it's a little bit snowy. You got something moving through. Rock Springs heading your way soon. Temps, though, not too bad. Kemmerer, 24. Evanston, 25. Jackson, 22 over there in western Wyoming. Gets cold up as you move north. 10 in Cody, 7 in Powell, 2 degrees in Worland. And then you move across the state down in the southeast. You got a little bit of snow has just gone through Laramie and Cheyenne. Wheatland, you might feel some of it, but it's all headed to Nebraska. 24 in Laramie, 11 in Cheyenne right now. And it's cold up in the Northeast, where it's been cold kind of all winter. 2 degrees below zero in Gillette. And -3 in Newcastle. Wright, you're 7 below. Buffalo, you're just at 1 degree. And still that polar vortex as you move northeast, in the extreme northeast part of the state, you're still double-digit below zero. But getting better. I-80, take a look at the WYO roads map. Interstate 80 down in the southeast corner, troublesome, or southwest rather, from Evanston to Rock Springs. Chain law in effect on some of those stretches. Limited visibility, snow, blowing snow, and slippery conditions. That's as far north as Kemmer and as far east as Green River, Rock Springs area, from the state border in Evanston right up to Green River, Rock Springs. Interstate 80 is troublesome. Pretty good through the middle and not bad in the north or in the southeast where it's normally difficult. All other roads looking fairly decent. You got some black ice, slippery conditions over Togety Pass. Some black ice down in Star Valley. Otherwise, pretty good for travel across the state on this February 20. Well, that gets you all up to date on the weather scene. Don Day will join us in a moment to talk weather. And we still have all our stories to get to from the Cowboy State Daily. How about the marathon debate? To me, this is a surprise. The putback of the 50% property tax cut. It was jimmied with a little bit. You remember, originally the property tax, this is Senate File 69, passed by the House late last night on a 42-19 vote, but not before they considered 21 separate amendments to the bill, trying to tweak this thing to get it just right. More than 5 hours of debate. I don't know if what amendments they discussed, but one that they struck was the amendment that looked like a compromise that would say, okay, not 50% of everyone's total tax bill. That's crazy. That would leave us with not enough tax revenue. Let's do 50% of the increase realized from 2019 to 2024. That compromise was tacked on to the bill, and it seemed to be amenable until last night. 5 hours of debate later, that was struck, and they went back to the original plan. Taxpayers, if this bill moves through, will get 50% off their tax bill, whatever that tax bill is, with no backfill for where that lost tax revenue is going to come from now. 2 years, Senate File 69 would try this. Tax relief for property owners. Meanwhile, some municipalities, counties, are saying this is going to be crippling financially. In fact, Representative Steve Harshman Casper warned the only thing that will come of those discussions later is a fight over backfill funding for local governments and schools, which he said will make us all look back on this bill. He said SF 69 will drive Wyoming off a fiscal cliff. Representative John Eklund, Republican out of Cheyenne, called it such a disaster, expressing doubt it could pass now through the JCC. It'll be up to the JCC to take a look at it, the Joint Conference Committee, before it can move on to the governor's desk. The JCC will have to figure out how it stacks up with its other partner bill and how it's going to look when it moves through. Leo Wolfson has more about this story. Here he is talking to Wendy Core on the Cowboy State Daily.
After 21 amendments and more than 5 hours of debate, the Wyoming House finally passed Senate File 69. That's a bill that, as changed on Wednesday, will provide a 50% property tax cut in Wyoming. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that the bill also offers a 50% backfill for local governments, schools, and other special district entities.
Both sides are very passionate for and against this bill. People like Representative Steve Harsherman and Representative Julie Jarvis really castigated the bill, saying it's really going to be harmful for Wyoming moving forward and funding the state's needs, while others like Representative John Baer and Representative Tony Locke said this is the tax relief that the voters are asking for and need, and that they believe they're fully entitled to receive it.
The bill will now head over to the Senate for concurrence. The major difference between the House and Senate's property tax relief proposals are that the Senate did not pass it with a backfill. That could send the bill to a joint conference committee to hammer out a solution in the remaining 2 weeks of the legislative session.
Going to be very interesting to see how that bill progresses. Senate File 69. Cowboy State Daily Show continues. Don Day will join the room right after these.
My name is Dre. And I had a stroke when I was only 16 years old.
It was a normal Saturday. He played 2 games back to back. During the games, something was off. He said his arm felt heavy. By 1 a.m., he was in emergency brain surgery because he was having a stroke.
I didn't want to, but I felt like I was just giving up.
That's when I found American Heart Association. They saved me that night. I don't know if Dre would be here today if it wasn't for the work that the American Heart Association has done.
The American Heart Association supports life-saving research that leads to medical breakthroughs. We are fighting to help prevent death from heart disease and stroke, educating people on prevention and early detection, and working every day to find treatments and cures so you and your loved ones can live happier, healthier lives. To learn more, go to heart.org today.
When you hear the words nonprofit organization, what comes to mind? Is it a place your dog called home before finding you? Is it an organization that supports accessibility? Is it a place that ensures your safety and that of those you love? That protects endangered wildlife and habitats or fights for our most basic needs? It's impossible to show all the ways nonprofit organizations make a difference in our world. One animal, one person, one cause at a time, but it's not impossible to be part of it. When you give what you have to a nonprofit organization that needs what you can give, you help promote, protect, and strengthen the reach of these incredible organizations. The Nonprofit Alliance is here, helping connect people like you to the nonprofits that enrich your life, your community, and the world we share. Reach out to a nonprofit organization that inspires you today to find how you can help make the world a better place.
The challenges our planet's animals are facing sometimes feel a bit heavy.
The animals haven't eaten in a day, 2 days, they haven't drank anything, they're cold, they're dehydrated.
As soon as we started our descent, everywhere I could see was mud, just absolutely mud.
The country has been in prolonged drought for so long, it was like a tinderbox waiting to go up.
Okay, very heavy. Each of us wants to be part of the solution, and we can be. Remember that there's good happening right now. At home.
All right, we were able to get into your unit, and we have all 4 of your cats. So,
okay.
And around the world. For any animal in any disaster. So let's focus on that, right? Be part of the solution, one rescue at a time. Search ifa.org/disaster ready.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jay continues in hour 2 with Don Day in the room. Dame weather forecast. Don, you're going to be the opening act for John Lee Hooker Jr., the legendary Delta bluesman's son. So your set list is limited. We have a limited amount of time. Just answer this question. Is it still winter?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh, good. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
No, I'm just kidding. But John Lee Hooker, I think, will be with us. We got to beam him in from Europe, and right now it's all we can do to get the show on this morning. We had a little bit of technical trouble. I do want to talk about that snowpack. I do want to mention that today, this day in history, 1949, marks the final day of what was considered one of the worst blizzards to hit Wyoming. It was actually a series of blizzards, and it was just one big mess. It was finally started abating today. And it's kind of like what you say gets delivered in January, February-ish, these pulses from the Pacific Ocean, and, you know, they bump into cold air, and here comes the snow.
Yeah. January and February are the 2 months when you have the highest odds of experiencing what we have just experienced. And this Arctic wave is easing across the state. There's still going to be a ton of bad winter weather in the central and eastern part of the United States here in the coming days. Their temperatures this morning in Nebraska have hit 34 below zero. And for February 20th, that's pretty late, really. But not unheard of. The good news, though, is we'll be talking all about the Pacific here in the days ahead, which means much more moderate temperatures for the state and region.
And we seem to be spreading the love when it comes to cold and just nasty winter weather. Northeast has had it the whole winter. They got to be like, come on, give us a break. The Southwest right now, Interstate 80 is no fun thing to be on from Evanston to Rock Springs. That's a mess. Cody, Powell, they've been living in cold. We've seen snow kind of getting everywhere. Spreading the love, Don.
Yeah, it's really, no one's talking about the warm December anymore. We forgot about that.
I know. So let's look maybe a month ahead. We got this encouraging snowpack in many regions around the state. That's good news. But how could we ruin that? What's a good way to blow it when you got a great snowpack and we think of like a really fast, like windy, warm, and fast runoff, and there goes all our water? What do we want to see with a snowpack? What's the best ideal spring coming out of it?
Well, the best ideal spring is to keep these storms coming off the Pacific and not have any big, long interruptions. And it's, again, talk about the Pacific again. What can ruin a good snowpack and have an early runoff is if the spring all of a sudden turns warmer and drier. But a lot of times when you see this is my experience, is that when you have a really good snowpack at first, like you really build it up in late October, November, and December, I've seen years where that momentum is harder to take through the spring. It's just how things go, how these Pacific cycles are. Right now, the cycles that we're going into the next 60 days across the Pacific is favorable for the Western United States to be, one, on the whole colder than average, and number two, have really good chances for more precipitation. So I don't see an early runoff this year, and I do think there's a chance that we'll be able to build the snowpack more.
Yeah, it's always encouraging rather than have like a week long of 70s in April and it just turns everything into a muddy mess. There goes all the snowpack. It's nice to do it gradually, just a little bit at a time, because we do need that water for irrigation. We need that water for a lot of things and help get us out of the drought. What do you see for the weekend? Are people making weekend plans?
Well, the worst of the weather we have right now, you mentioned Interstate 80 in southwestern Wyoming. We have a little Pacific system. It's a tiny little one, but it's going right down I-80. Once that system exits the state, really between Friday and Tuesday, there's very little going on. The snow chances go down. We are going to warm up. Now, one thing that will be a bit of a nuisance is the wind will pick up this weekend, especially along I-25 and I-80. But that happens when Arctic air leaves. So that'll be the one negative for the weekend. However, everybody gets a break from the cold. And I think that will be welcome for a lot of people. I know this has been really hard on livestock interests, especially in northern and northeastern Wyoming with this prolonged cold. snow cover, all of those things. So when we have these big Arctic outbreaks like this, Jake, you have a readjustment. So the Arctic outbreak kind of goes through its life cycle. There's a pause, and then you ratchet up and get ready for the next round. And so that we're in between rounds next week.
I know there's a herd of Angus up there in Ranchester that has chattered all their teeth right out of their mouths, and they're just chewing on cud. 60-degree swing up there north of Sheridan in the last 48 hours. Fantastic. That's good news, at least for those folks.
Yeah, they need a warm-up. And one thing is we'll be able to get a fair amount of that snow and ice melted away. It won't go away completely, but we'll whittle it down a bit.
Awesome. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Don Day. Updated day weather forecast. Find that on dayweather.com. Find it on our website, Don Day Weather, on the Cowboy State Daily. Hoping to connect with John Lee Hooker Jr. That's the son of the legendary Delta bluesman John Lee Hooker, who brought you songs like Boom Boom. That one I played earlier was actually a cover from Big Head Todd and the Monsters, using the original words, using the original audio from John Lee Hooker. Here's the original. I mean, just so simple, that guy. 3 chords and the truth, right? I mean, Delta Blues. I don't know that John Lee Hooker ever received the fame he should have during his life. I think we appreciated him too late. But he is, heralded, received many awards. His son, pretty good blues guitarsman as well, and followed in Dad's footsteps. John Lee Hooker Jr. Was on stage with Dad at the age of 8, I think. He was definitely not 10 yet. He was like 8 or 9, and he was playing with his dad. And he went on to carve a blues career of his own. John Lee Hooker Jr. His dad died in 2001, I think. Lived a good long life, but notoriety didn't come until late in his life, late in his career. People started recognizing. I mean, first off, the world of blues, blues music, everybody was ripping off everybody back in the day, flat out stealing your riffs, flat out stealing your song with no credit. There was a lot of that, but I think once musicians and some knowledgeable audiophiles took notice and said, you know what? All this stuff, this Delta blues stuff, is really just John Lee Hooker. Like, he did it. He did it first. All this stuff like this. Crawling King Snake. It's all John Lee Hooker. Now, this guy didn't invent the blues, but he sure put the blues on the map.
I'm just gonna keep on crawling now, baby, until the day I die, because I'm a crawling king.
Yeah. I mean, that's the king right there. That's the crawling king snake, John Lee Hooker. John Lee Hooker Jr. Is going to be joining us, I'm hoping. With blues musicians and this early in the morning, you wonder, but there is a time difference. So it could be that he or I are an hour off on what we think is going to be his appearance. I got him, I'm going to double check this, Thursday, 7:26. Yeah, I got John Lee Hooker Jr. He's overshot 5 minutes. But, hey, famous musicians, you wait until they're ready to come on the stage. They can hang out in the green room as long as they want. And you just have to be patient. It's either that or he's going to come on an hour later, in the next hour, when we have Aaron Turpin on, which I fear could be the case, we might be off in our timing. 7:26 Mountain Time is, I don't know what time where John Lee Hooker is. Scott, our sort of producer, do you have any idea what time it is over there in Germany or Europe or wherever John Lee Hooker is? Can't wait to talk about him. John Lee Hooker Jr., living in the shadow of his father, yes. Following in his footsteps to a degree. He was born in Detroit, and his blues sound has a different influence because of it. His blues sound is not Delta blues. If you listen to some of the early John Lee Hooker Jr., his version of blues is more like Chicago big city blues. It's great. It's just different. It's not his daddy's blues. It's totally different. And for a while, John Lee Hooker Jr. was successful doing that, but like so many musicians, especially those that grew up in the shadow of a famous parent, John Lee Hooker Jr. got on a bad road, and it started with drug abuse, and it ended in prison. But he has since turned his life around. He's become an ordained minister and now a certified reverend. We're going to put that in front of his name. The Reverend John Lee Hooker has discovered the gospel. He's traded his blues for blessings and turned the blues into the good news. And we'll hear a little bit from his 2020 album called Testify, which is basically a gospel album, very much blues influenced, but really, really good stuff. There's also a book out. You can pre-order it on Amazon. John Lee Hooker Jr., Free from the Shadows of the Blues. My story of music, addiction, and redemption. Written by John Lee Hooker Jr., along with help from Professor Julius Simon. It's on Littlefield and Rowan Books. You can find it on Amazon now. Pre-order. It'll be out March 15th. Very interesting story of John Lee Hooker Jr. So we'll assume our timing is off as we try to match up time zones. Stupid time zones. Plus you got, blues musicians. Their sense of time is already kind of shaky. Blues lives outside of time, right? You want to play this in 6/8 or 4/4? I don't know. Let's play it in 9/28. Whatever. Blues musicians don't do time. So maybe that's it. Jackie Dorothy will be on here later this hour. We'll talk about Jackie's story concerning cattle counts. We expect the cattle industry to take a bit of a hit this year, and that's due to, of course, the wildfires and a lot of big sell-offs by major ranchers up there in the area affected by the wildfires last summer. But the overall health of the cattle industry is expected to be pretty good. The beef industry, it'll rebound. We'll see more cattle out there on the land, but just not maybe right now. Jackie will talk more about that. Mark Hines will be with us next hour. So will Aaron Turpin. We'll talk about the new best-selling vehicle. And it's no longer the Ford F-150. It was for years and years. No vehicle was purchased more than the Ford F-150 until just this last year. Can you guess what is now the most popular selling vehicle? Dethroned the Ford pickup. Aaron Turpin will be on with us next hour and tell us why and what happened. For now, let's get into more of the news of the day. How about the anti-squatter bill? Greg and I were talking about this earlier. I'm completely in support of this, even as myself, a renter and sometimes squatter. I've actually never squatted. But squatting could be construed as, let me give you an example. Without proper laws in place, and what currently exists in Wyoming is kind of a version of what exists in California now, although California is on a whole nother level. Hold on. We got, we do have John Lee Hooker Jr. in the room. That's good news. Let me get right to him.
Hello.
Hey, what's happening? Where are you? First off,
I'm in Germany, and I'm like, what happened? There you go. I'm in Germany, and there's always, not always, but just a little bit of confusion and getting mixed up, but thank you for that quick Zoom and text message.
Yeah, that's my producer working behind the scenes. We're glad to have you on. How's your German coming along, by the way?
Pretty good. Wie geht es dir? Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
No sabe. You're further along than I am. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored. This is the Reverend John Lee Hooker Jr. We'll get to why and what happened with your life conversion. You found the Lord. I'm so glad you did because, we live under grace now, and there's no other way to do it. But for a while, you did not. Tell me about growing up. Your dad, a legend. I don't know if he was recognized properly in his time. Probably too late did we discover, holy cow, John Lee Hooker is Delta Blues. Like, everything goes back to him practically. What was it like early on? Did you have a sense that, like, your dad was the deal, although he was having trouble in his own marriage and your own family?
Yes, he, I think at about the age of 7, 8, I noticed, or, immature kid notices something's different, but likes what's going on, and wanted to be every child or that has a mom and dad that does extraordinary things, you want to be like them. I was a spoiled kid, always wanted to go with my dad. No, you can't go, I'm going far away and whatnot. But he used to take me to the radio stations. And of course, grown-ups thought it was cute that this little boy was trying to sing like his dad. So my dad would take me to the radio station on the I'm just quiet in this loudmouth notification, and take me to the radio stations and sat me on his knee, and the interviewer, like yourself, would pull up, put the microphone up to me, and I would sing a song that my dad recorded called Marty. I actually was nominated for a Grammy with that song on my CD, yes. And just watching him and doing what he did, trying to mimic him and copy him, and just, you know what I mean? And as you grow up, now I'm noticing on the east side of Detroit, long-haired people with these very extraordinary accents coming to our homes with TV cameras on our front porch. Hey, something is going on here. Interviewers from afar off coming to interview him about his hit records, Boom, 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 Boom in the 60s. And things just grew and grew and grew. Yeah, you touched on something that he was held down or withheld, if might be the right word, from his, I don't want to use the word glory, but from his fame. Because he was being cheated. He was being cheated and taken advantage of because of his illiteracy. But he grew up maturely and learned that it's all about contracts and attorneys. No more handshakes. And that's what I was taught. And that's why I have never had to go through anything like that legally in my career.
We talked about that earlier before you came on. Yeah, a lot of the reason John Lee Hooker, your father was not recognized in his time, was the industry and everybody ripping everybody off. It was kind of the way it was going. How did you get from Mississippi to Memphis to Detroit? You were born in Detroit. Your early blues music has a big city sound. I mean, a Chicago blues, like it's different. How'd you get into Detroit?
Well, my dad was from Mississippi. He left Mississippi to begin his career and went to Memphis. After leaving Memphis, he landed in Detroit at the foundry or at the factory of motor cars. Of course, Detroit is the motor city capital of the world. He worked there, and there's where he met my mom. And I was born in Detroit, Motown.
Motown and the blues. Yeah, that's a perfect combo. Your early stuff now, you're starting to forge your own career. Your stuff, if you listen to something like Blues Ain't Nothing But a Pimp, that is released in 2008, so lyrically drastically different than what you're going to find on 2020's Testify. But you were doing that blues back then, and then as so often happens with a famous a father or mother, and you get a lot coming your way. You got off track a little bit. It was drugs, and it ended up in prison. It was not good.
Yeah, prison with a plural, prison with an S. Yeah. Back then, I had just not too long ago released from San Quentin prison. My book tells a story, drug abuse, many prison stints. But I came home and I still had the don't give up attitude. I'm not going down until the skinny lady or the fat lady or the medium-sized lady starts to sing. And I got into music and got back into music and made the 2004 CD that you're mentioning, and we were nominated. It was like from San Quentin prison yard to the red carpet.
Yeah.
And this just like blew everybody's mind, even mine. What?
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you that the tenacity, the endurance, the long suffering, the fight and don't quit mindset that I had, and I started believing in myself. My dad told me, says, you have your own original style, because when I was first nominated, I had some haters that said, the only reason he got nominated was because of John Lee Hooker Jr. Well, the Academy, if you know anything about the Academy, the Grammy Academy does not allow copycats, Nelly Pinelli, copycats or fakes, pretenders, or sound-alikes to enter into their circle or their orbit. And second Grammy nomination kind of like shut the haters, namesayers, made them be quiet, because here I was nominated twice for a Grammy because of my authenticity and my original sound. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you may have been even under more scrutiny by the Grammy committee because of the name. They'll say, well, let's the bar is raised high. They're like, let's see if this guy lives up to Dad. That could have been something, but that early catalog stuff, that's some great blues, different from your father, but yet authentically blues. I love the video. Everybody loves the video for Blues Ain't Nothing But a Pimp. It's ahead of its time in its time. It's really cool. What a great idea.
Yeah, you're the second one that said that my producer, Will Rock, said the same thing. Those animations were, they were 2025,
Mm.
2026, and it was fun doing it and just singing and the reason I chose that title because you have to get up every morning and you have to grind and you have to set the alarm and you get dirty. You might get injured at work. You don't want to get up and go to work because you're so tired from the baby crying last night. It kept you up. And you just go to work and to work and to work and to work. And so that's why I came up with blues wasn't nothing but a pimp because the night life working woman has to get up and grind and stay up all night long. And the master of the girl is, of course, the pimp, right? And I put the blues wasn't nothing but the pimp.
I love it. I love it. It's a great idea. It's fantastic. But it's totally different from the stuff we hear from you now off Testify. I want to just play like barely a little bit of off of Testify. Listen to the spirit. This features Charlie Musselwhite. Very Hey Pocky Way influenced. What a great groove. I mean, that's in the pocket right there. Woo! This is good stuff. I love it. The 2020 Testify album. You got to check that out. What? So, I mean, you have to ask this of anyone who has come to the Lord, who has found salvation. What did it? Where were you? Was it any one particular moment? Did it happen over time? How'd you get saved?
After being drugged, my own fault, through the mud, and your family just, you become estranged with your family. You become cut off. We don't want, who is that monster? We don't want that. Who is that beast? We don't know you. My mom and dad told me one time, visited me in jail, we don't know who you are. We never use drugs. We never use this. We never been to jail. Who are you? Stay away, stay away, stay away. So after being ostracized, if that's the correct word, but after being just cut off because of my demeanor, my mannerism, just terrible, society couldn't trust me. I wouldn't call it profile, but because I needed to be profiled because I was a walking Black Frankenstein. And I just got tired of going to prison after prison after prison. I had been to 7 different prisons and even one in Canada called the Olan. Anyway, one that was in, I can't remember the name, but it was in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I went to prison there. And I just got tired, man. I just got tired. And I had been to so many drug rehabilitation programs, prison drug programs, 12-step programs, Narcotics Anonymous, psychiatrists, methadone clinics, and nothing seemed to work. And one day I was arrested and on my way to prison, and I was reluctantly asked to attend over at a chapel inside the jail before I went to the infamous Soledad prison. And I walked in and we all sat down. There were gang members, friends of mine, and their motivations for being there was to get a church girl. And I was there just sitting there waiting, and the lady just gave a little small message, not behind your ear and yelling and whatnot, but she just said, if you're tired of being tired, you've tried everything you could do in your life, and try Jesus. If you've been to every program, if you tried this, tried that, and you still don't have the answer to it, I have the answer. She says, try Jesus Christ. and he'll set you free. Because when she said the word free, I knew that not only because I was locked up, but because I was addicted as not a drug addict, I was a dope fiend. And I couldn't break the chains of addiction. I didn't know how. I tried everything. And then I just got up off of that bench wherever I was sitting at, and walked up to the pulpit where she was standing with tears coming down my eyes. And she said, what's your name? And I says, John Lee. She said, Brother John. And she just led me to the Lord. Do you believe that Jesus Christ died for your sins and he rose again on the third day and he's coming back again? Do you believe that he died for your sins? And do you renounce the evil that you used to do? Do you turn around from that? I said, I do. Tears flowing down my eyes. And the gang members was like, and that day I gave my life to the Lord. And for 5 years, I headed to Soledad. And for 5 years, when I came home, I was in the church. 5 years. The music orbit called me, and I resisted, and it called me again. And then I was given an invitation to come to one of the most biggest or greatest or famous festivals, the Monterey Blues Festivals, and offered all of this money. And I'm like, wow. And I went for it. But to make a long story short, I kept falling. I kept getting back up. I kept falling. I kept getting back up. I got shot twice. I got stabbed. I got cut in my face. I became homeless, ostracized, estranged, and I accepted. The Bible says that a righteous man falls 7 times and he gets right back up again. And that's what I did. I got back up, and my music changed. My lyrics changed. Listen to the Spirit instead of listen to me, baby. And that's who I am today. The scriptures, people ask me, why from the shadow of the blues? Because that shadow of the blues was a burden on me, because immoral living, and I can say it because I don't do it no more, but a woman on every continent, every state, drugs here, drugs that, and let the good time roll. And that's not what I sing about today. I sing about listen to the Spirit, because if you don't, you'll wind up like me, especially if you're in that kind of garbage can environment that I was in.
And so often people like you are who God calls, because your testimony is so authentic. You're able to now share that through your music. You're able to go into prisons, pay it forward, talk to the people that were you 20 years ago. The book, by the way, you can pre-order on Amazon, Free from the Shadows of the Blues, My Story of Music, Addiction, and Redemption, co-written with Professor Julius Simon. It's Robert Lee Hooker Jr. Check that out. It'll be released on March 15th. I'm so happy for you on the path you're on now. Traded blues for blessing, from picking the blues to praising the good news. This guy has got it right now. John Lee Hooker Jr. Man, I appreciate you being on with us. Say Guten Tag to everybody there in Germany. Is that something? I don't even know.
Let me write your name down.
Jake. Guten Tag.
Jake.
Jake.
You are some special interviewer.
Nah, man.
Yeah, you just make a person relax, and it's, you open the door and, hey, come on in to my studio and let's have some fun. Unscripted, just let's do this.
Nah,
thank you, Jay.
I'm the blessed one, but I appreciate you being on. I really do. Have a great day, a blessed day. God bless. John Lee Hooker Jr. Too. You bet, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Oh, what a treat. Absolute treat. We got to get to Jackie Dorothy. We haven't left her much time. Let me take a quick break and try to sort things out. We're all discombobulated here. On the Cowboy State Daily Show continues after this.
Logan Wilson here at the M Building in Casper, Wyoming. They do more than just support businesses and private events. They support nonprofits by offering reduced rates to help the community thrive. The staff here at the M Building have been incredible in helping me organize a fantastic event. They are great partners for those who want to make a positive impact on the community. Come check out the M for your next event.
Our beautiful world is changing, withering, dying by the hands of those who don't value nature, even though we all depend on it for life itself. But there is hope. Together with caring friends, the Nature Conservancy can restore our lands, heal our waters, and save our wildlife with big solutions only nature can provide. But every day we lose more of the places we love, and we urgently need to save endangered lands, waters, and wild species. The actions we take today will determine the tomorrow we leave to our children and grandchildren. The water they drink, the air they breathe, the beauty they experience. To learn more about how you can help protect and conserve our beautiful world, visit nature.org today.
At Renewal by Anderson, we ask, why should we only feel the love on Valentine's Day in February? We have declared the entire month of February as the month of love. That's right, we did it. We laugh at February snow and cold. We love installing the best new windows and doors. We love how warm, cozy, quiet, and more valuable our awesome windows and doors make our customers' homes. Love, love, love. Tell someone you love them today, and please book your free estimate right now at rbawyoming.com. Feel the love every day in February with Renewal by Anderson.
In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. I grew up on tour with my parents. Kind of different, but we bonded over music just like other families do over sports, camping, or other interests. And we talked. Little everyday conversations from silly to serious that built a foundation over time. Honest conversations, like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic.
Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life. And I was so grateful that you and Mom had become these sober, stable people who were always there for me.
I wanted you to know from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs, whether it's music or anything else. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
Talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Yeah, our timing is all off. We're on Germany time, I think. So we take that quick break, and now we got a break for the news. And then I think next hour we'll get things back on track. Jackie Dorothy is going to be slotted in next hour. Aaron Turpin's going to be with us as well. And Mark Himes. So we'll do it all. We're going to just shift around, and we'll figure it all out. Coming up, Wendy Coors News. We'll see you on the other side.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Thursday, February. It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Thursday, February 20th. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Core. After 21 amendments and more than 5 hours of debate, the Wyoming House finally passed Senate File 69, a bill that, as changed on Wednesday, will provide a 50% property tax cut in Wyoming. Cowboy State Daily's Leah Wolfson reports that the bill also offers a 50% backfill for local governments, schools, and other special district entities.
People like Representative Steve Harsherman and Representative Julie Jarvis really castigated the bill, saying it's really going to be harmful for Wyoming moving forward and funding the state's needs, while others like Representative John Baer and Representative Tony Locke said it is the tax relief that the voters are asking for and need.
The bill will now head over to the Senate for concurrence. The major difference between the House and Senate's property tax relief proposals are that the Senate did not pass it with a backfill. That could send the bill to a joint conference committee to hammer out a solution in the remaining 2 weeks of the legislative session. The Thermopolis Police Department and Hot Springs County Sheriff's Office released video Tuesday of a September officer and deputy-involved shooting in which a local man who chased agents with a metal baseball bat was shot and killed. 41-year-old Jared Gatula died outside his home September 9th after he charged a Thermopolis police officer and Hot Springs County Sheriff's deputy with a bat, and they both shot him. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that a special prosecutor for the Fremont County Attorney's Office deemed the agent's actions legally justified.
The Hot Springs County Sheriff's Office and the Thermopolis Police Department both had agents that fired. They both were involved in the officer-involved shooting, so they worked together to stitch a video compilation, which they then released Tuesday night.
In his decision letter, the prosecutor said the deputy and officer were focused on stopping Gatula's behavior in the least violent manner possible, but Gatula showed focus and determination to hurt the officer and deputy and never once indicated he intended to surrender despite being given ample opportunity. Roughly a year after the torture and killing of a wolf put a worldwide spotlight on Sublette County in southwest Wyoming, a county resident said she's getting death threats over a coyote hunting contest she's helping to organize. The Song Dog Shootout, scheduled for Saturday and Sunday in Sublette County, has nothing to do with the torture and killing of a wolf last year in the local town of Daniel. That's what Amy Bissell told Outdoors reporter Mark Hines on Wednesday.
They have a coyote boom in their area right now. She said coyotes are killing chickens, pets. Ranchers are worried about coyotes getting into their calves. This is not everybody get out and go on your snowmobile and run over coyotes. This is go out and hunt coyotes with rifles for a couple days. The lady who is organizing this thing told me that over the past few days, they've been flooded with calls and even up to the point of getting death threats, which everybody on both sides are saying, look, that's not acceptable. Let's not do that.
Bissell said coyote hunting contests are common in Wyoming and across the West this time of year, and if any of the hunters are caught doing anything deliberately cruel to the coyotes, she said they will be disqualified. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Are you fabulous at 55? Are you ready to use your valuable time and talent to give back? Join Serve Wyoming through the AmeriCorps Seniors Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP, and make a positive impact on your community. With a lifetime of skills and experiences, you're exactly what your community needs. Whether you're itching to lend a hand or your organization could use some extra support, we've got you covered. Call Sarah Roberts at Serve Wyoming at 307-234-3428 or RSVP at servewyoming.org.
Well, Sheridan residents woke up to a new temperature record on Wednesday, minus 27 degrees, breaking the previous record for February 19th, set in 1929. Other places in Wyoming that aren't breaking record low temperatures got unbelievable amounts of snow, according to Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi. The Snowy Range and Sierra Madres have received over 80 inches since Valentine's Day, with more on the horizon.
The chances that we're going to have extended periods of days where it's below freezing or below zero are reduced the further we get into the year. On the other hand, we still have plenty of snow to go because it's been above average for precipitation in January and February for most of Wyoming. And there's still the wettest months of the year to come, and that's March, April, and May.
The National Weather Service is monitoring an incoming weather system that will significantly increase air temperatures. Meteorologist Don Day said that will be a slight reprieve, but not as much of one as many Wyomingites might want. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on CowboyStateDaily.com. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily. Want to stay in touch with what's happening around Wyoming? I'm Wendy Corr, host of the Cowboy State Daily video newscast. From Mountain View to Upton, from Jackson to Cheyenne, our reporters are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. Every day, I talk to the talented journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, I bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily video news every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com.
In southwest Wyoming, wide open space is waiting. This is how we explore it. In Rock Springs and Green River, Wyoming. Plan your adventure at explorewy.com.
Cowboy Daily State Daily Show with Jake continues, hour 3. And a big thank you to John Lee Hooker Jr. for hooking up with us all the way from Germany. It was great to talk with him, find out more about his life story, how he's turned it around. His music is fantastic, whether it's the old drug-influenced blues, which is a totally different blues from his dad, or whether it's the modern-day gospel-y stuff. It's all good. Check out John Lee Hooker Jr. on your iTunes, Spotify, and check out his new book on Amazon. You can pre-order. That'll be out on March 15th. Let's head to the Zoom room. We got to get Mark Hines in here. Talk about all things aminals, I guess. Let's begin with, and you're not going to agree with me, Mark. Let's get ready to disagree. I already had Greg Johnson on in the first hour. We didn't agree on this. But the coyote organizer, coyote hunt organizer in Sublette County, it's the same county that Cody Roberts whacked his wolf in. So that county's been under a bullseye a little bit. This event has nothing to do with that, to be fair. Also, to be fair, death threats are never correct or right or it's just stupid. But it is, to me, a little tone deaf, lack of reading the room. And I never liked these events anywhere. You see them less and less in Wyoming. I think they're coming under scrutiny. That's these coyote hunting contests. And to make sport and make contest and give prizes for killing coyotes, to me, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But I understand it's done in Wyoming and it's totally legal. And this song dog shootout, though, is getting some flack, and it's because of the wolf thing.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary of how some folks might feel about it, Jake. It's controversial. A lot of folks. I don't know if there's two neat sides to this or however you want to frame it, but some folks see it as just sensible predator control, or maybe no different than a fishing derby in that aspect, except they're shooting coyotes instead of catching fish. But you're correct. Not only in Wyoming, but throughout the West, in most places, coyotes are a shoot on site species anytime, any place. Now, again, there's a larger debate to be had over whether that's. Some folks say it's necessary. Other folks say it's unnecessary and maybe even counterproductive. It's an interesting topic, and there's no shortage of strong feelings about it. I'll put it that way.
I know.
And then, like I said, this event in particular, the organizers are saying, flat out, look, this is pure happenstance. But there's other folks out there that have read something into it. And so it's kind of touched off a whole new round of sore feelings about what happened now almost a year ago, February 29th. So we're coming up on the actual, 1 year anniversary of what happened there in Daniel. And of course, people are still to this day having, very upset about that, and not just in Wyoming, just across the country and the world.
And it's not fair. I mean, the two events have, the two occurrences in the news have nothing to do with each other really yet. They do to outsiders, and the optics of a contest that slays coyotes and awards prizes to whoever kills the most. It's not a good look for Wyoming right now. The science behind it. You talk to Franz Commonson, he'll tell you there's science behind. The harder you try to squash the coyote, the more it comes back. I don't know if it's scientifically sound, but I do understand the need to keep that predator in control as far as population. It's the contest aspect, I think, that's really dicey right now to talk about at all in Wyoming. But I also don't like outsider, people from Vermont telling Wyoming you shouldn't be killing coyotes. I don't like that either. Yeah. Nobody does.
It's, it's different from when you and I were coming up, Jake, when we were young fellow.
Yeah,
a while ago, we'll put it that way.
Little while.
Anything you do these days is going to be on a world stage, and and I've told my own kids who were, young adults now, I said, man, you guys can't get away with anything these days. You do something stupid or questionable, somebody's going to get video of it and the whole world's going to know about it in 30 seconds. I mean,
I know.
Whereas back, if you ever seen that movie with Johnny Depp, where he plays Whitey Bulger, the one line from that movie, if nobody saw it, it didn't happen. I mean, we had that when we were growing up, but the kids these days, and it's, and so, yeah, I think that, the raising a good point there, that as hunters, as outdoors people, as people doing whatever we do in Wyoming, yeah, we're insulated from the rest of the world, but social media has kind of put a new angle on that, where, man, you put something up online and the whole world sees it. So, and not everybody is going to react maybe the way that you expected them to. So,
and you never get the full story. A photo online, it doesn't tell the whole thing.
No,
you're getting no
background. You're getting a sliver. You're getting, you're getting a sliver view of what's going on. So, man, it's, if nothing else, this is just an interesting case in how the internet and social media have really changed things from back in the day.
And to people not from Wyoming, who've never been out west, and they're maybe big city folks, some of the Wyoming things have to seem barbaric, including House Bill 172. We're talking about the right to carry firearms almost everywhere, with some exceptions. A repeal of Wyoming's gun-free zones is moving along. It's headed to Senate. Where's that at, Mark?
Well, it sailed through the Senate Judiciary Committee and is now on the Senate floor. So, for those folks who don't want this is kind of their last hurrah. This is their last chance to stop it. I mean, it's up to the debate among the senators themselves on the floor. So, folks are going to have to call their senator and tell them either, hey, yay, this is awesome, get behind this, or no, I don't like this, vote against it. And then, of course, it's going to be up to Gordon. If and when it hits his desk, whether he's going to sign it or whether they're going to see a repeat of last year where he vetoes it. And this has been interesting because people on either side of it, people are so engaged, and they bring, they both bring, good, well thought out arguments to the table. Like one side is saying, having people carry guns in school, even if they are over 21 and they have a concealed carry permit, does that make it safer? Does it make it more dangerous? And then also, the opponents will raise the argument we've seen before. It's local control. Why can't UW decide what happens at UW? But then the other people say, hey, the Second Amendment is a constitutional right, and the Constitution is the Constitution, no matter where you are. So it's,
yeah.
I mean, so maybe I don't know I can't think or speak for any of the senators, but maybe those senators who are sitting on the fence, who haven't decided, they've got interesting points to consider on both sides as they move forward with this.
And these are two different aspects that you talk about, two different things to think about before you even get into the argument of whether concealed carry will reduce or has a potential to reduce mass shootings. Some say, a gun-free zone just creates soft targets. Some say if you don't know who's carrying, you're not likely to go popping off because that could be dangerous for you. Before you even get into that, you're right. Another aspect is who gets to tell. Does that come from top down? Should that be more local? That's interesting. I'm interested. I was really interested to see a lot of people wanted to speak out on this the other day, and testimony included input from a famed author, John Lott, who was quoted several times. On whose behalf did he appear? Was that his own thing?
I think I'm not sure how that came about, but I think his name is, again, this is a continuation of a debate that's been going on for years.
Yeah.
House Bill 172 is not the first run. I believe this goes all the way back to 2017. In one form or another, some legislators have tried to get the gun-free zones repealed. And so I'm sure John Lott, after hearing his name come up or seeing his name come up several years now. I was like, you know what? I'm going to come here and set the record straight. So that was interesting. That was an interesting aspect of that meeting. But you are correct. Anytime there's a hearing on this, there is no shortage of folks that want to come and weigh in. And it's interesting because, Wyoming is, I think it was safe to say Wyoming's pretty gun friendly. Not everybody literally, but you can say in a broad sense, everybody has guns here.
Oh yeah, very much.
Most people do. And so the disagreement doesn't seem to be so much over guns themselves as it is what are the parameters under which we have them. Some folks are saying, total liberty, very literal interpretation of the Second Amendment. If you can go somewhere, you should be able to take a gun there. And then other people are saying, maybe not so much. Maybe there's some places where we don't want the average Joe carrying a gun. So again, it's an interesting discussion. It's gone on. And look, if it hits Gordon's desk and he vetoes it, we'll be in for a repeat next year. That would be my thought.
Yeah,
So-
we saw the same thing last year. Governor Gordon vetoed it on the grounds that he thought local control was better. It's no wonder that it's not a surprise this is controversial. Two things Wyomingites care about is don't mess with my guns and don't mess with my freedom. They don't like to be told what to do.
Yeah,
So we got both of them mixed into this House Bill 172. Well, it'll be interesting. We're tracking that bill. Mark's tracking that bill. Good story from Mark Hines. Anything else on your plate, man?
No, not right now. Just there's stuff on my plate, but I guess my answer would be read Cowboy State Daily.
Yeah.
Let's see what's coming next.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We can do that. Hey, thanks, Mark.
All right, have a good one.
We'll see you tomorrow. We won't see you till next week. Yeah.
Absolutely. You have a good one, Jake.
Yeah, you have a great day. Mark Hines joining the conversation on the Cowboy State Daily as we continue in hour 3 of the show on this Thursday version. Yeah, his story regarding House Bill 172, the repeal of Wyoming's gun-free zones, clears a major hurdle. It's now headed to the Senate floor. I think the real showdown is going to be what happens when it hits the governor's desk, because I think it's getting there. And when it did last year, very similar bill, almost identical, the governor vetoed it. Would he do so again this time around? It'll be interesting to watch. House Bill 172. Wyomingites love their guns, and we love our freedom. So, yeah, it makes for interesting issues, huh? Let's get to, let's do a little rodeo. I'm going to throw some rodeo in here real quick before we get to our next guest.
It's the Rodeo Roadshow on the Western Ag Network. Hi, everybody. Will Rasmussen here from the sunshine of Arizona. Arizona's celebration of the cowboy, the 100th edition of the Tucson Rodeo. Glad and honored to be here. Big rodeos going on, Fort Worth just over. And we'll talk about the big winter run of rodeos, and a big amount of money can be won during the winter. We'll talk about that coming up next.
The American Lamb Board wants 2025 to be the best year yet for education. Lamb Checkoff-funded programs include workshops and summits aimed at equipping sheep producers with the necessary tools and resources to profitably grow their operations. Like the American Lamb Summit, July 22nd through 25th, University of Idaho in Moscow. Event highlights include defining lamb quality and hitting carcass targets and increasing production efficiency. Learn more and register at lambboard.com.
Can a cattle supplement tub really improve pregnancy rates by 14% or increase the number of normal sperm by 22%? It can if it's Flaxlick by SmartLick Supplements. Flaxlick contains high levels of essential omega-3 fatty acids from flaxseed, paired with a complete vitamin and trace mineral package, plus university research and field trials to prove it works. It's not just another tub. It's the choice for improved reproductive performance. Discover more and find a dealer at smartlick.com. That's smartlic.com.
You know, the summer is filled with all kinds of rodeos that cowboys can go to. Starting about the second or third week in May, there is a rodeo you can go to almost every day. But in the winter, It's Fort Worth, it's San Antonio, it's Houston, it's Tucson, it's Rapid City, some of those big rodeos. The Dixie National in Jackson, Mississippi is going on. San Antonio is going on right now as we speak. They're about in the middle of their big run. Tucson, Arizona, we're about in the middle of our run here as well. And a lot of money can be won. There's not the numbers of rodeos to go to. However, if you win enough money at these big rodeos, it certainly takes the pressure off of you to win a whole bunch of money in the summer and have to go to those rodeos every day of the summer and into the dog days and into fair season. All the cowboys want to win some money in the winter for a couple reasons: to win money, and if they want to make it to the top 15 and make it to the National Finals Rodeo, winning money in the winter is so important. Just ask them, and we will. Stetson Jorgensen, steer wrestler from Idaho, is our guest tomorrow on the Rodeo Roadshow. I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network.
Western Ag Network, as we'll go from rodeo to commercial break and get right back here with Aaron Turpin. He joins the Zoom room and joins the conversation to talk about all things automotive right after these.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Have fun. Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
If you're watching this, I didn't make it. Thanks to people like you and the American Heart Association, my family never had to see this video. I was a healthy 47-year-old, no symptoms. But then my doctor discovered I had a bad heart valve that was beyond repair. The scariest day of my life was when I was sitting on a gurney. Deep down, you know, this could be it. This little heart valve did something really big. It saved my life. I wouldn't be here today without it. The research for this heart valve was funded by the American Heart Association. Since my surgery, I had a son get married. I had a daughter graduate high school. I had another daughter give birth to a precious boy. I would have missed all that. To learn more about the American Heart Association, go to helpheart.org today.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
In 2023, arm pump was holding me back. After a successful treatment at the McGinley Clinic in Wyoming, I can now focus on track instead of pain. The McGinley Clinic offers innovative, minimally invasive treatments for most sports injuries, including arm pump. They got me back to peak performance and back on the podium. Go check out McGinley Clinic today.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake continues, hour 3. This guy, I'm always happy to see him in the Zoom room. It's Aaron Turpin, and we're going to talk about all things automotive. Aaron, what's going on? What are you driving lately? What'd you drive?
Right now,
a GMC Acadia Denali, and a Mazda CX-9.
Whoa! I can't even hang out with you, Aaron. Dang. That sounds fancy. Oh.
The Denali certainly is. The Mazda's a little more of a daily family car, but in previous years, I've had it and we've road tripped in it as a family. It's a great vehicle.
That Denali's a beast, right? Isn't that thing like a block long?
No, it's only an Acadia, so it's a 3-row, but it's the smaller 3-row. It's not the truck-based one.
Okay. Oh, man. You know so much about vehicles. All right, the first thing, reason we have you on, 2 reasons. We're going to talk about the illegal...
Because I'm the world's tallest leprechaun. That's why you're having me on.
That's right. We're getting close to St. Patrick's Day. You'll have to wear that again when we have you on around St. Patrick's. Which means, headroom in a vehicle. That actually means something. I mean, right off the bat, if I were to ask you, and this is off cue, this is not anything we were going to ask Aaron, but I'm tall. You're the world's tallest leprechaun. We need headroom. Me particularly, I like to sit way up on the wheel, which cuts down on my headroom because a lot of times the roof is back here and I'm right up here. I mean, ballparking, if you're a super tall dude, what should you be driving?
Most everything will fit now, except until you get into compacts. Then it gets a little more dicey. I'm 6'3", and I fit in most anything that's not a small sedan. And even then, some of those are pretty good. The new Kia K4, which replaces the Forte, it has a lot of headroom, lots of space inside for such a compact vehicle. But most of the Toyotas, I don't fit in those until you get past like the RAV4. I'm rubbing my head in that one, and then after that, it's fine. So you really need to just try the vehicles out. For the most part, if you're over 6 feet, you'll probably fit in 80% of the vehicles on the market. The way you're sitting, that's a little different because I tend to school bus. So I got the steering wheel way up and like this, and I'm back. I don't lean back, but I'm sitting back from it because I have legs, and I want my legs to be at the right angle for the pedals. And I drive 10 and 2, and then because if you've ever been on like a rally or racetrack or something, then you know that one hand always needs to be oriented no matter where it is on the wheel, so that you always know where the wheel is. So that's a habit that I have. But driving style will affect your head and leg room in a car. But for the most part, most taller people will be fine in pretty much every vehicle on the market that's not labeled as compact.
I drive 10 and 2 as well, but I'm up on the wheel like NASCAR racers, so I can feel more engaged in my driving and be more engaged, be more present. I also appreciate the fact that some vehicles allow you to move the pedals, the gas and the brake, further away from you, which I need to do because I'm 6'2", you're 6'3". I got to move those back because I don't want them having right up. But I'm telling you right now, if that airbag went off, there's no way I wouldn't even feel the speed of it. It would go and be right in my face. Bam.
I was just going to point out that NASCAR doesn't have airbags. So it's not actually recommended anymore to drive 10 and 2 because of the airbags. You're supposed to drive on the bottom, not the top of the wheel.
Oh, I can't
But old
stand
habits die hard for me. So the compromise I've made is I don't wrap thumbs around the wheel. I keep them like this on the wheel. You learn that off-roading and rallying because if the wheel jerks really hard because you've hit something or moving over something, you could break your thumb if you're gripping it. So like this, your hands will just come off. But anyway, if you have them like that, the airbag will throw your hands back most likely.
Well,
but yeah, it's not like the old days.
The exact opposite of me. I can think back to some girlfriends that put the seat all the way back, 1 foot out the window, one hand, one finger on the bottom of the steering wheel, and that's how they drive. And I'm like, no,
I used to drive around. I remember my friend's dad taking us places when I was like 13 or 14, and he would literally drive with his knees. They had a Rambler, right?
Oh,
he would
boy.
drive with his knee and read a book.
All right. Well, we've given you all the wrong things to do, all the bad habits. Interesting. You mentioned Kia earlier. That seems to be more and more a popular brand. And you did mention RAV4, and we're going to call that foreshadowing because guess what? After more than 4 decades at the top, the Ford F-150, best-selling vehicle in the United States, has been dethroned by the Japanese. Oh, what happened? First off, are we going to believe this data? I shared with you what I see. Is that about right from what you know?
Yeah, so the information, the meme basically that you showed me, I researched it because I thought, hey, this would also make a great video for my channel. So I went and researched the numbers. So there's 2 different ways to measure automotive sales in this country. One of them is to go by the manufacturer's numbers. And manufacturers like Ford, they don't tell you how many F-150s were sold. They tell you how many F-Series were sold. And Chevy does the same thing. They'll tell you how many Silverados were sold, but they don't tell you how many 1500s, 2500s, et cetera.
Got it.
And so when you use those, then when you use those numbers, and that's the stuff you'll usually see on major automotive outlets like Car and Driver and stuff. They'll use those numbers. And on those, pickup trucks are dominating because you're counting every single model of that one truck. So those, using those, the F-Series is still very much top dog. Chevy comes in right after that, and then you have Toyota, and then you have Ram Truck down at the bottom. But as number 5, and then Honda is usually number 4, but they go back and forth with trying to think of the other one, Nissan, all the time.
So few Americans still love their pickups, but
oh yeah. So but if you break them down by model, which you can do if you look into the sales figures that are given, then you get this new chart where the RAV4 just edged out the F-150 for the top spot. It edged it out by it's about 15,000 vehicles. So it's a pretty small margin considering we had about 16 million vehicles sold in the US last year. So it's a very small margin. And then most of the trucks are shoved off the chart entirely because then you have a Honda and a Tesla right after the Ford. So yeah, you end up with a pretty interesting mix-up. But it's a big deal because not only is the F-150 dethroned for the first time in, I think it's 40 years as the top-selling vehicle, but it's also important to note that Toyota is actually, by percentage of parts and labor and everything else, more American-made than the F-150 is.
Oh.
Just because the F-150 uses parts that are pulled from Mexico plants versus Toyota tends to make everything right here because they have a giant facility in Texas for that.
I'm surprised it was the RAV4 that dethroned Ford if we're to accept this chart. Maybe I just don't notice them, but let's take a look at the top 10, let's say. There are 3 pickup trucks, but the rest of the list is dominated by more gently fuel-sipping vehicles, the Honda CR-V, the Toyota Camry, Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic. Are we making a general shift to stuff that gets better miles per gallon?
Yes and no. These kind of cars, not always these particular ones, have always been on the top 10 when you look at sales. Most of these, if you're looking at like the Honda Civic, the Nissan Rogue, and the Corolla, those are worldwide, those are huge sellers anyway.
Yeah.
But they're also entry-level cars. Those are cars that people can easily afford. So they sell well. Also, if you look at the entire chart and you just consider the top 10 minus maybe the GMC that's on the bottom, these are all vehicles that also sell well to fleets. So rental companies, fleet buyers, stuff like that. that is actually one of the big reasons that the F-150 has always dominated, because it sells really, really well to fleets as a work truck, a rental truck, whatever. And then also Ford has by far the largest network of commercial dealerships. So dealerships aimed towards commercial buyers, which would be fleet buyers.
They're also the most popular cars are also the most stolen. It's not your Bentleys and people wanting something high end. They want to steal something and part it out, because parts for these vehicles always in demand.
Some of that is just numbers and access. The more of those vehicles that are sold, the easier they are to find. Some of that is exportability. So there is a fairly large business of taking stolen cars and shipping them out of country. I have a friend that lives in South Africa that he said, he could take his Toyota. He has a Land Cruiser. He can take that and drive it from where he lives all the way up through Africa to the Middle East and never lack for parts, but he can never park it and leave it because it becomes the parts that he's looking for.
Well, that's why in the Middle East they put gun turrets on the back of them things. Interesting. You should segue right to that, because we're going to talk about it next. Yes, the story from Andrew Rossi, interesting, where he saw a couple of these Toyota 70 series Land Cruisers being trucked on a flatbed. These are the classic. I mean, they're great in safari in Africa. They're great in desert conditions in the Middle East, and they're popular with jihadists who want to go on a rampage because they're so dang reliable in tough terrain. I mean, nothing kills them, and if something slows it down, you can get a part for it. They're so cool. Why can't we get them? Why don't we see them in the U.S.? We're not interested in a vehicle like this, are we?
Safety.
Yeah.
So next year, I believe, when I read his article, I believe the first ones will be available next year, because they'll hit that 25-year rule where they become they're now a collectible rather than a regular vehicle. Because I think, if I remember right, the first ones were made in 85 or 86. And so we'll hit that point. But the short answer is they don't meet emissions or safety requirements. So they can't be sold here. There's a huge number of vehicles that fit that. I hear a lot from people that wish that we had more truly compact pickup trucks. Back in the day, we had the B2000s, and we had all those little trucks that were out there, the little Nissan hard bodies and whatever.
Yeah, the Ford Ranger.
You can't get those anymore.
Yeah.
You really can't get those anymore. And there's several reasons for that, but one of the big ones is just, once you get down to a certain size in a pickup truck specifically, you can't have those crumple zones. You can't have it's just not available. It's not possible. And then the rest of it is EPA requirements, but that's a whole different.
Yeah. Well, even if it wasn't safety issues, there's probably, if I'm trying to market this and I'm Toyota, I'm not pushing these old 70 Land Cruisers, because for the most part, Americans don't want their vehicle to perform. They want it status symbol when they're driving down Main Street. Give me an idea of the difference between like a real Hummer and like the fake Hummer, or a real Bronco from the old days and a now Bronco. And the same thing with a Land Cruiser. People would rather have the citified version of these vehicles that were meant to perform in rugged conditions.
It's true. There are some exceptions. So some of the most off-roaded vehicles are Jeeps and the full-sized Ford Bronco. So you will see people take those out and bounce them around a little bit and use them. Not to the extreme usually that they're capable of doing, but at least they're out there doing stuff. But yeah, for the most part, vehicles like the Land Cruiser, Toyota thinks about the market as a whole and what are they going to sell there. There's a lot of people that are dedicated to just going, how many of these can we sell in one given place to make it worth it? And the Land Cruiser here, and for the most part in Europe, is a luxury vehicle or close to luxury. Toyota's kind of trying to pull that back a little bit so they don't step on Lexus with the current generation Land Cruiser, but it's still a $60,000 SUV. That's the starting price. So the people that buy it, they're very unlikely to get dirt on it. They're more likely to just drive it around town. And it's pretty telling when you buy one, the tires that it comes with by default are more road than off-road. So that's just how it is. When you buy other vehicles, there are a lot of Jeeps that get sold that never leave the road either. But they're usually not like Wrangler Rubicons. They're usually Wrangler Sports or the Wrangler Sahara, one of those models. So that you're two-wheel drive or all-wheel drive instead of full-on four-wheel drive with all the good stuff that comes with it. Toyota also knows, on the opposite end of that, the Tacoma. A very large portion of people who buy Tacomas, they want all that off-road gear. That's why the Tacoma now has like 4 different off-road options, because people want that. The Tacoma is less and less being used as a truck and more being used as a toy. So they're moving away from that cheap SR5 that was just a pickup truck and a simple transmission and little tiny 4-cylinder go nuts. And they're moving more towards let's bounce around a little bit and haul our toys someplace.
Well, whether you're plotting a civil uprising in your 70 series Land Cruiser in the name of Allah, nothing like an old Land Cruiser with a machine gun on the back. That's what I want, man. I'm not looking to, promote civil unrest. I just want a parking space. I've been just shoot that guy right out of that spot. And the RAV4 has overtaken the Ford F-150 as the hottest selling vehicle in the U.S., dethroned after more than 4 decades in the top spot. Aaron Turpin, it's always great to talk with you.
Always nice to talk to you.
Can't wait for your next article, and we'll have you on again when we see it. Thanks, buddy. Aaron Turpin joins us, the automotive specialist of the Cowboys State Daily. Let's take a quick break here in hour 3 of the Cowboys State Daily Show with Jake. Back in a moment.
Who can you turn to for news you can trust? Your local TV and radio broadcasters. You trust us to keep you safe during times of crisis and to deliver the weather, sports, and entertainment you rely on every day. We bring you the facts you need to make decisions that matter. And as misinformation floods social media, you can trust your local stations to deliver the truth. Text TV to 52886 and tell Congress you rely on your local stations for trusted news.
You handle the healthcare, we'll handle the marketing. In need of a spark for marketing your medical practice? Loom Studio provides creative and strategic healthcare marketing that illuminates the path to bigger and better experiences for your business and your patients. We specialize in branding and design, social media, website design, SEO and SEM, not to mention content creation, public and media relations, and marketing metrics to ensure you're getting results. If you're looking to increase your patient engagement and retention, enhance your community impact, and streamline your marketing efforts, our team is ready to help you achieve your goals. Contact us today and learn more at loomstudio.com.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
There's a lot of need in the world, and if you're like me, it can seem too big to make a difference. But that's why I decided to start volunteering with Mercy Shifts. Dedicating a few weeks or months of my life every year in the service of others has brought me more than I could ever imagine. Plus, I'm getting to meet people from all around the world, and make lifelong friends. Hey, Michelle. And with so much to do here, there's an opportunity for everyone to make a difference.
High five.
But the best reason to volunteer is knowing that no matter what you do, you're helping change people's lives every day. Whether it's for 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, when you volunteer with Mercy Ships, you'll find your purpose, your people, and your place in this world. And all you gotta do is visit mercyships.org today. I hope to see you soon.
Cowboys State Daily Show with Jake continues. Hour 3. Jackie Dorothy joins us just an hour late. Sorry, Jackie. It's been a rough morning. Been working around it. And you were bumped by the son of the greatest blues legend of all time, John Lee Hooker Jr. So, you know.
I will take that. No, I think that was a great bump.
It was so cool to talk to him. And John Lee Hooker, of course, the king of Delta blues, and his kid playing blues as well, and now into gospel. And it's just a great story, great opportunity to talk to him. We had a time difference between Germany and here, and we were on a 20-minute delay. You know, you've heard whenever you see TV and they talk to a reporter that's over there in Afghanistan, and it's like they ask a question and 8 seconds later the person answers. This was like a 20-minute delay, so we got all messed up. Sorry.
Well, I'm trying to arrange an interview in London, so that's a 7-hour difference. So I understand your pain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stupid time zones. Well, at least you and I aren't cows trying to make a living in Wyoming. Up there in the area affected by wildfire, which yesterday and the day before, it's like 30 below to be a cow living there. And there's nothing to eat because the wildfires burned everything up. It's better today, and it's going to get better next year. But ranchers certainly feeling a hit right now. Your story, wildfires helped push 40,000 head drop in Wyoming's 2024 cattle production. What happened? Did everybody just sell off? What's going on?
Well, if you remember back in November, we covered it when they had the biggest cattle sale in Torrington.
Yeah.
And we talked to ranchers back then, and there was one that was just heartbroken because she was selling off her mamas. All her moms that were pregnant, they were unable to keep them on because of drought in her area, and other areas were hit with those wildfires. It's kind of funny you mention that because on my phone, I still have the wildfire app, and I saw it and I was like, what is those flames? And I remembered, well, I don't need to watch it right now.
Yeah, we're not reliving it, but we know that the wildfires weren't the end of it. In the aftermath, you got large hay fields that were burned off, burned down, so there's no winter feed. And without winter feed and you know, trucking it in is going to be expensive. I know Texas volunteered to help and get hay up here, but still, I can see ranchers are looking at the numbers saying, at least this winter, let's get rid of the herd. Let's slim down. Is there reason to be encouraged, though, moving forward?
There is, and there's several reasons to be encouraged. One is that it was mostly the beef cows that were sold off, and the dairy cows remained consistent. So we have about 9,000 dairy cows, at least that's listed on the USDA site. And that the dairy production has increased, especially with the raw milk that they just passed. So that is kind of hopeful for the agriculture. And then the Stock Growers Association is pretty excited because they said the beef prices are good and they think that will encourage people to buy cows. I mean, I have friends that they have a ranch up here in Thermopolis, and they said they had to buy some more cows this year. But that was because their mamas didn't give as many baby calves as they wanted.
Yeah.
But you have to do that from time to time, too, for the bloodline.
Yeah. Supplement, influence some new blood. Yeah, it's good. Well, I'm encouraged, but I can understand why right now you might not want to be in the ranching business. It's tough coming out of wildfires like that. They really have a devastating effect. And then there's ongoing drought. When you get in the eastern half of the state, especially, just horrible drought. We need more snow. We need more rain, all that kind of stuff. You watch, Yellowstone. For the rancher's life, they never get enough rain, never get it when you want it. And when you get it, it's too much. It just never...
I do have to tell you that I was talking to my friend because it's like, I know in Lusk, they actually have problems with wranglers, cow wranglers. And people said that's one of their biggest things that the cops are working on in the sheriff's department out there is making sure that people aren't stealing cows. So I asked her how it was in our part of the state here in the Bighorn Basin. And she hasn't had any issues with people trying to steal her cows.
Yeah.
So in some part of the states, that's actually a problem. And that was fascinating to me.
Still happens. In fact, I would guess it might even be easier, with the advent of the truck and trailer. And there's certain areas where rustlers could just pull right up, load a bunch of cows in there and drive away. And they can be long gone before you, the rancher, ever know you're missing 40 head.
Just answering my question there is that the reason it's happening in Lusk is in that area is because they are by a major highway. And we're in a remote area that if you see someone with a truck and trailer that you don't recognize, you don't recognize them. That's out of place. What are you doing here?
Shots fired immediately. Yeah. Shoot first, ask later. That's an out-of-state plate hauling cattle. Hauling ball and cattle. Yeah, you got to throw lead at that outfit. I like it. What else did you want to talk about, Jackie?
Well, we could talk about anything on that. I have some upcoming stories that I'm really excited about. I kind of alluded to the London call. Did you know that there is actually a group in England that are so fascinated by Wyoming history that they have a whole club? I know in Germany, I've had relatives that have gone back because they wanted an Indian. And they want you to be there and share your culture. And it's a culture sharing thing. And it's the same thing with this London Westerner Club.
Interesting. So we're gonna learn about that.
Find more. Yes. I don't know anything beyond what I just told you. Is that they like our culture, they like our history, especially the outlaws, but the lawmen as well.
Yeah. All this, it seems to be cyclical. There'll be spaghetti westerns were popular in the 70s. Yellowstone has brought back a whole renewed interest in all things Western in Wyoming. It just happens all the time. And there's always a reason why you could fall in love with that lifestyle because we still live it in Wyoming. I got news for you. And you tell those folks across the pond in the UK that, in many ways, it's the 1800s in this state still.
Well, Mike Bell, who I'm going to be talking to, he's actually been here in our area, and he's written several books about Butch Cassidy and the outlaws here. And he went door knocking. So if you ever have somebody show up at your door and he's got an English accent and he asks to look in your backyard, he's looking for history.
Okay, don't shoot at him. Just shoot the verified rustlers.
Not today. No.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's okay. How's it doing in your neck of the woods? You warming up?
It was kind of interesting. In the canyon, we had 24 degrees, and I was like, well, it still feels cold. Drove into Thermopolis, and it dropped a whole 10 degrees.
Ooh.
It was almost 14 degrees above, and it's like, what in the world? So you have those little pockets, and sometimes it's the opposite.
Yeah.
And I was up at Antelope Butte, and they did get some great snow up at the ski resort there. And I think Meadowlark got some in the Bighorns. So we're finally getting some snow. We kind of gauge it with the sagebrush. We look and see, can we see the sagebrush? Now they're just barely peeking out. So we might have a good snow year yet at the ski resorts.
Good point. It's funny how different places where you are, is it a good snow year? Is the sagebrush buried? For us, when you can't see that stop sign anymore, it's gone. That's good snow here in Jackson Hole. We've been, ski resorts been doing pretty good of late with that. It's all adding to the snowpack.
Try that sometime. It seems kind of scary with your hills. They seem a little bit mountainous.
Yeah, they're straight down. It's best not to look. That's how I ski it. Mostly, I don't look down. Just keep your eye on the horizon, kind of, and yeah, let gravity do its work. Well, thanks, Jackie. Appreciate you coming on late. Sorry we were all messed up this morning, but we did get with you.
And we'll have a lot more for you next week.
Sounds good.
To see you. You take care.
All right, you too. Jackie Dorothy joining the conversation of the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. As we continue in hour 3 with more stories to talk about. Again, we'll catch you up to date on that highway crash outside of Green River. 2-vehicle crash that happened late last night. That was not part of the tunnel thing, but it may have had something to do with the fact that the twin tunnels are closed on I-80 and traffic is being rerouted. We saw a kind of a rare accident at Peru Junction at highways 372 and 374. That would be something you would likely be on if you were trying to avoid Interstate 80. So that could be a reason why you saw a commercial vehicle. We'll assume that's a truck, semi, 18-wheeler, and a passenger vehicle were involved in the collision yesterday. Wyoming Highway Patrol Sergeant Jason Roskio talked to our own Claire McFarland. She has that story. The location is not part of the official detour, but again, it's an area where it doesn't see a whole lot of traffic typically, and I'm guessing the reason this accident happened is because a trucker was trying to avoid the whole tunnel congestion. Perhaps so was the passenger vehicle. The road was closed for a couple, 3 hours. Finally reopened at 7:45 last night. We do not have the identification of any of the victims, either of the 2 victims, but 2-person, 2-vehicle crash, 2 fatalities just outside of Green River. And, certainly not an area that needs yet even more troubling news. We're going to talk about the change to the ballot box. Ballot drop box ban. That's still moving forward, but not without a significant tweak. Dale Killingbeck has a story about homeschool parents moving closer towards having a little more freedom and decision-making and where you can send your school. That's the so-called Homeschool Freedom Act. House Bill 46. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And also David Madison, a story about the House committee killing a bill to store radioactive waste in Wyoming. A lot of legislative stuff and a lot more other kind of stuff as well. We'll get to all of that later in the show, in the Cowboy State Daily. Right now, we got to pause for top of the hour news. It's Wendy Core. We'll see you on the other side of that. Thanks for spending your Thursday with us on the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. 1 hour to go. We'll see you on the other side of the news.
In Southwest Wyoming, wide open.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Thursday, February 20th. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Core. Wyoming often sends its commodities out to other states, losing all or substantially all of the item's value before getting those finished products back at much higher costs. But that might not be entirely so for nuclear. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that the abundance of Wyoming's uranium reserves has at least one company seriously considering a uranium fuel manufacturing plant.
BWX Technologies, they're a Virginia-based company, and right now they have a plant there in Virginia China that makes their fuel, but they've got enough demand here in Wyoming, and there's enough uranium reserves here in Wyoming that they think they might want to just build a plant to manufacture that fuel here. And so if we're doing that here, we're getting all of that value, we're getting all of those jobs. It could be a huge economic boost.
A representative for the company said BWXT has not yet made a decision on whether to locate its fuel manufacturing plant here, but it is among things the company is in the midst of battle testing with the help of various Wyoming vendors, including L&H Industrial out of Gillette. A bill meant to bolster enforcement against home squatters cleared both chambers of the Wyoming legislature Wednesday, and if there's no need to compromise on its amendments, will soon go to the governor's desk. If it becomes law, Senate File 6 will let a homeowner ask law enforcement agents to remove a squatter from their home, with some strict guidelines, though, according to Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland.
When you call police now and you say someone's squatting in my home, it can be difficult for them to just oust that person forcibly because there's questions like, what if? It's hard to verify when someone has a right to be there and someone doesn't. So that's something that police actually don't like to monkey with. So this bill puts in some accountability checks. So on the one hand, if the homeowner is willing to swear to attest, like, this is not a tenant, this is not my boyfriend, we're not in ongoing litigation over this home, things like that, then police will take that person out under this bill. If you're found attesting things falsely, there can be consequences for that.
A similar bill is now pending in the House. Its focus isn't on squatters, but on fake landlords. If it becomes law, Senate File 11 will add a new felony to Wyoming's fraud laws so that a person who intentionally uses a false document to gain property or a right to that property could face up to 10 years in prison and $10,000 in fines. A California company said it might want to put a factory in Natrona County to build tiny nuclear power plants, but says it needs to store its radioactive spent fuel. However, a Wyoming House committee voted down a bill Wednesday that would have allowed for that storage. That's according to Cowboy State Daily's David Madison.
Think of them as like the generator that you hook up to your RV, except it runs on atomic fuel and can generate a megawatt, which is enough to power 750 homes. So in order for Wyoming to roll out the red carpet for this new employer that could bring 250 good jobs to Wyoming, the state needs to pass some legislation allowing the storage of spent nuclear fuel.
Radiant Industries is looking at Natrona County and potential locations in other states by constructing new mini reactors, refueling them, and storing spent fuel at a single location. The company's CEO said Radiant could build a strong manufacturing business in Wyoming. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Are you fabulous at 55? Are you ready to use your valuable time and talent to give back? Join Serve Wyoming through the AmeriCorps Seniors Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP, and make a positive impact on your community. With a lifetime of skills and experiences, you're exactly what your community needs. Whether you're itching to lend a hand or your organization could use some extra support, we've got you covered. Call Sarah Roberts at Serve Wyoming at 307-234-3428 or RSVP at servewyoming.org.
Well, homeschool parents in Wyoming are closer to having more autonomy over what they teach their kids. House Bill 46, also known as the Homeschool Freedom Act, is sailing through the state legislature. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck reports that the bill advanced Wednesday to the Senate floor with a recommendation that it pass.
If they're in Wyoming and they're going to homeschool their child as a kindergartner, they don't have to contact the school district at all. If they have someone in the school district, there would still be a notification involved, but there would be no longer a requirement to submit a curriculum each year.
The Wyoming Senate Education Committee voted 4-0 to move House Bill 46 out of committee without any amendments. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on CowboyStateDaily.com. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.
I did cheerleading through high school. I went to the Colts cheerleading and I loved it. I was about to go to work and my arm went numb on me. I knew I couldn't speak and I collapsed.
After 36 hours, Tessa's worried family and friends called police, who found her on the floor after suffering a stroke.
For 2 days, I was unconscious. I don't remember anything.
Thanks to the American Heart Association's support of life-saving research and medical breakthroughs, Tessa got her life back.
I don't have a limp anymore, and I am so encouraged because I can speak now.
To learn more about how the American Heart Association is saving lives, go to helpheart.org.
Cowboys State Daily Show with Jay continues now in the final hour of this Thursday show. We're going to welcome Renee Jean to the Zoom room in just a second. First, I wanted to take a look at this story from David Madison, which seems to me to be very similar to Renee's story, but we'll ask Renee because I'm a little confused. David Madison's story, and it's titled House Committee Kills Bill to Store Radioactive Waste in Wyoming. This, I believe, is not the idea to accept anyone's spent fuel rods or whatever it is and bury them in Wyoming for money. This is Senate File 186, which would allow for small operations, tiny nuclear power plants. And the catch, the reason this bill did not get out of committee is basically the committee members were worried about an episode of this show. And it was an episode that showed green ooze leaking into the earth and the world. And committee members referenced the show, Green Slime or Ooze from the cartoon series. And they were kind of scared by the ability of at least one company, Radiant Industries, based in El Segundo, California, the ability to properly dispose of or store their spent stuff. And, Renee knows all about this, so we can get more from her because she wrote a story about a Virginia-based company that is seeking to build a uranium fuel plant. And this is going to be the future, I think, is these smaller grid nuclear plants. And let's get Renee into the room, somebody who's knowledgeable about this. Renee, your story, did you see the David Madison story? And does that run kind of counter to what your story? You got one company that wants to do these small micro nuke plants, and they're told, well, we're not sure about what the green ooze. And then you got another company you're talking about that sees a bright future in Wyoming. What's happening?
Well, so I think the two things are a little bit separate just because they have a fuel manufacturing plant here in Wyoming to serve the small micro reactors that they're building doesn't necessarily mean that's where the waste all has to go. But it is an interesting question with the resurgence of nuclear power. We have yet to find a place to put that waste. The federal government has tried to locate a place for, I guess, going on decades now. And so far, we haven't been able to find that location. It's always in somebody's backyard, and nobody wants radioactive waste in their backyard. The fuel that they make is pretty interesting, I think. It's called TRISO, but that stands for something else kind of longer. Essentially what they're doing is they're taking a small kernel of radioactive material and coating it with several layers. A carbon graphite layer is the innermost layer, and that creates some space to hold fission gas, absorb the recoil energy from fission. Then on the outside of that, there are pyrolytic layers of carbon which is a further barrier to hold in that fission gas and, just kind of seal everything up. These beads are like the size of a ballpoint pen tip, so pretty tiny. And then there's like an entire array of them. The ones they're building for Tata Chemicals there in the Green River area will generate 5 megawatts per unit. So each of these small micro reactors would generate that 5 megawatts. These are, they're really a niche kind of thing. The military is interested in these because you can just kind of stand them up anywhere. They can be manufactured somewhere else and taken to location and set up. Once you've got one of these, the fuel is good for like 5 to 7 years without refreshment. So there's really no supply line to cut off. You don't need a transmission line. So it's attractive for that kind of operation because you can just quickly stand that up and have power that's difficult for the enemy to affect.
Yeah, if you're off grid or the grid is taken down or disappeared or destroyed, they act like just a beefed up, flexed up jackery. I mean, it's just a temporary power for, on a larger scale. That's interesting.
And it's uninterruptible, solar and wind, kind of similar. If you stand those up, they don't have supply lines to interrupt really, but they don't work when the wind isn't blowing and the sun's not shining. So you need batteries to store the power that you don't use for those times when they're not collecting energy. But so nuclear energy doesn't have that problem. It's not interruptible in that way, and it doesn't necessarily need a battery in order to just keep pumping out whatever power you need. So I think that's one interesting aspect of these small micro reactors. They're also good in areas where maybe you don't have transmission lines or where transmission lines might be hard to get. It's very costly to build a brand new transmission line, so you just don't necessarily want to do that. This is maybe a cheaper option than building a transmission line. And then your energy future is kind of under your own thumb, so to speak. You're not beholden to somebody else for that. So those are some of the niches that this type of reactor fills. It's a different niche than TerraPower. TerraPower is more of a utility scale type of reactor. You're more than 350, or you're like 345 megawatts for TerraPower. That's quite a bit more than these small micro reactors will provide. So they're not really competing with each other. They fill different niches.
Renee Jean's story concerns BWXT Technologies and their proposition to make these small micro nuclear plants. Whenever you discuss nuclear fission, I get a mild migraine. But you did mention some reasons why this might work for Wyoming. All people want to know is this technology safe enough? Because we all have fears from nuclear energy going back decades. Is it safe enough? And is it suitable for Wyoming? Is there a future in this in our state? It sounds like it.
Well, and I think the big key point here in the story is normally we mine all of these things and they go somewhere else and all the value gets added somewhere else. And then we get back more expensive products, but we've lost all that value chain, all the economic benefit that comes with that went somewhere else. So we're not getting as much of the value chain as we could. Here, BWXT is actually looking at standing up a fuel manufacturing plant here in the Cowboy State. So uranium, after it's mined, it gets enriched. And then the enriched uranium is what's used to make your fuel rods or fuel cores. And third step in that process, that's where most of the value is added to the chain. So if we got one of those, it would be, economically speaking, you'd be grabbing a large part of the value chain that normally goes somewhere else for Wyoming.
It reminds me of the beef industry, and the ranchers sell a cow for this amount. And when you go out to dinner and buy a steak, it costs that amount. And you're like, what happened in between? Why can't we handle all of that?
Exactly. And then, the farmer only gets like pennies on the dollar. That too. So it's really important for states to be able to capture as much of the value chain as they can for the natural resources that they have. And Wyoming has tried to do that. It may be that they will meet with some success here because we have a lot of uranium to offer, and there's a lot of demand right now. BWXT told me they're seeing a huge demand signal in the state, large enough to justify building a fuel manufacturing plant.
Renee, I think you and I have had a little bit of fun, a little bit of sport of enjoying the saga fold out concerning Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, and it just seems to never provide us with yet more fodder. This guy doesn't lack for swagger, but now he lacks for a job. He announced that despite giving himself an A grade, he's more like a C grade, as in see ya. He's going to leave.
Yeah, we're about midway through the Delivering for America plan. DeJoy has told the U.S. Postal Board of Governors that it's time to look for his successor. It's time to transition. So he is not staying to see the plan through. There nothing public about whether he was forced out, whether this was a voluntary announcement. But he still feels like he did a great job. You can read that in his letter. He touts the first quarter earnings where, for the first time in a long time, the post office did post a profit. They are still on track, however, to lose close to $7 billion at the close of 2025. DeJoy has urged that the U.S. Postal Board of Governors hire someone to carry out his plan. Of course, lots of people in Wyoming are opposed to that. The plan would move most of our large mail processing to other states. We would not get one of the 60 regional processing and distribution centers in our state. That poses problems for mail, delivery of election ballots, medications. Rural Wyoming depends on a robust mail service. The Postal Regulatory Commission has reviewed his plan and said that it will disproportionately affect rural areas and that the plan really doesn't take that into account. They also believe that it's relying on defective modeling and that it is overestimating the cost savings and not setting up the Postal Service for long-term success. So, a lot of criticism of the Delivering for America plan crosses the aisle, Democrats and Republicans.
I have a strong suspicion in this guy's ability to read the room. We're sharing with our podcast viewers a photo of Postmaster DeJoy when he was covering his ears. I don't know that he gets the feeling that there's a little bit of pressure from the outside regarding his Delivery for America plan, but I feel like it came trickling down from above, like it's time to get out. We'll find out when the committee, whoever it's a committee or a board, makes the choice for his successor, whether we change horses in midstream or it's somebody who's going to carry through on the rest of the plan. I guess we'll know soon enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure that is known at this point. DeJoy has contended that the Postal Service is being held back by unrealistic expectations and illogical and irrational scrutiny from those who have no responsibility for ensuring the financial viability of the Postal Service. That's a direct quote from his letter.
Let's change gears. One last story from Renee Jean. Whenever it comes to nuclear fission, I get all swirly. And whenever Renee talks about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, I'm kind of left in the dust. The dividing line, let's say, is age 30. Under 30, and you're more inclined probably to embrace Bitcoin. And it's certainly by the numbers exploding, especially under Trump, too. After 4 years of kind of suppression under President Biden, it looks poised to go somewhere. Whether it becomes traditional mainstream acceptable, there's still detractors that say it's too volatile. There are others, investors that are kind of in the middle who say, yeah, play that game if you got money you can afford to lose. But it's a dividing line of I don't trust crypto from 30 and up age, and then 30 and under, they're all over it. And you know who's on it now? The Wyoming Highway Patrol Association. It might be the first law enforcement group in the nation to buy into Bitcoin. How did it all get started? I guess with a guy, Crosby Ralston, who was skeptical as I was, and then converted.
Yeah, so I thought that this was really interesting, just kind of looking at the trends in America. Crosby Ralston, I'm probably getting his name backwards. Crosby Ralston, he's grown up in an era when housing is like 500,000. Well, when his grandfather bought a house, it was like 50,000, and his grandfather made 25,000, so he made half as much as his home cost. Well, obviously, most of us don't make $250,000 for our salaries. So clearly, wages have not kept pace with the increase in housing cost. And I think that's part of what's really motivating Generation Z and millennials to buy into cryptocurrency. They own 70% of cryptocurrency is owned by someone in those two age groups. And that's kind of how he put it to me is, we're looking at trying to save for a home, and we're thinking it's kind of like real estate was to our grandparents' generation. If you can get in now, you're going to have success and do well because it's going to continue to go up. So a lot of financial advisors don't recommend cryptocurrency. 62% of financial advisors say that doesn't mesh well with their legal and statutory obligation to recommend things that are in the best interest of the client. But it is starting to change. Some financial advisors have changed their opinion about cryptocurrency. Suze Orman is one of those. She used to recommend against it. Now she says if you can handle the high risk, if you can afford to lose the money, it may be worth a gamble to have some of that in your portfolio. Don't go hog wild with it, make it the only thing in your portfolio, but maybe it could be 5%. And what they're looking at there is, first, it's becoming more mainstream. When Trump has been, Trump used to be against cryptocurrency also, but has changed his mind more recently. And then more corporations are also looking at it. There's talk about a Bitcoin reserve. And so then you also look at how much it has increased in value. It's more than 1,000%. So what investment vehicle is there that regular folks like you and I could access that's going to return 1,000%? I can't think of anything.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's driving the interest. You look at even the most aggressive savings, 4%. A return on investment doesn't keep up with inflation practically. Stock market, as good as it's doing, still can't perform like crypto. I mean, as Bitcoin's going bonkers, and that certainly looks attractive to some. Well, we get a roll. Thank you, Renee. Appreciate you coming on. Have a great Thursday.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Renee Jean joins the conversation. Let's take a quick break and get Abby into the room. It's time for Ask Abby. I can't wait. Right after this.
Meet Norm. He lives with anxiety, but with the help of this latest innovation from Be Normal, he can be normal, just like everyone else. With the swipe of a finger, you can project happiness, confidence, machismo. Why settle for being real when you can be normal? The Normal Maker. New from Be Normal. This item doesn't really work because there's no such thing as normal. We're all different. What we like, how our brains work. In fact, 1 in 5 of us live with mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Start by talking to someone you trust. And remember, there is no normal.
Nestled between Casper Mountain and the North Platte River, you'll find the heart of Wyoming. With a bustling downtown centered around our outdoor haven, Casper is for adventurers, freedom seekers, and rule breakers who find beauty off the beaten path. So if touchable history, a vibrant community, and uninterrupted outdoor recreation define your travel itinerary, allow us to welcome you to the one and only Casper, Wyoming. Plan your trip at visitcasper.com.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them.
But the reality is, 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year.
But the good news is, there's an organization making a big difference. Covenant House.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and the tools they need to succeed in life.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life. They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
When youth who are experiencing homelessness have a hot meal, a safe place to sleep, and love, most of all love, they can overcome heartbreaking challenges, and their lives are transformed.
Covenant House is changing the lives of young people in cities across America.
To learn more, go to covenanthouse.org today. Thank you for caring.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy. It's a commitment, especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is being prepared for the journey ahead. Love doesn't let any concerns go unsaid. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax. It always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Love protects.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake continues. Hour 4, my favorite part of the day, my favorite part of the week. Abby's with us. Abby, what are you doing? Digging the drip today. Love that sweater.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's a vintage Wrangler, if you will.
Got me. Yeah, I love it. So what's happening? Do you have anything new to report? We're going to jump into trivia, but I want to get, warm you up. I don't want to just get your brain all blown up right away. Let's warm into it. What's happening in your world?
Well, nobody won bingo. Nobody won Cowboy Stadium morning bingo today either. So we're going to keep trying till we get a winner, I think.
I mean, the stuff you put out, this is insider info, but there's an editorial meeting at Cowboy State Daily every morning, and Abby was playing like fun bingo on like what would happen first, what would happen, and all the things you mentioned. And I haven't been to a meeting in a while because I've been doing this deal, but I'm like, oh, it's like I never left. Like all those things happen at every single meeting. You were dead on.
It's pretty funny. Jimmy gets a kick out of it, so
Very funny.
A happy Jimmy is a happy meeting, right?
Yeah, I mean, anytime those meetings, usually, let me take you inside a Cowboy State Daily meeting. Jimmy, we need stories. Good, everybody, write more. Yeah.
We're down, people. We're down, people.
We're down, people. We need more stories. The public, the Wyoming demands more stories.
Interesting stories.
They got to be interesting. We're not just putting out, junk. Nothing about Ukraine. They got to be interesting stories. Yeah. That's kind of the half-hour meeting with some fun in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
what about you? What's new?
Well, did you hear my story about the animal menagerie I got outside now? I kind of brought it on myself. So I keep, food outside for the chickadees. And sometimes the food spills a little bit. And sometimes the chickadees don't eat it all because they're chased off by the magpies, which are now chased off by 4 mule deer and 2 raccoons, 2 fat raccoons. So the other day, the whole zoology was right out on the porch. I mean, I walked out and the cat is crying. He wants to go outside, open the door, and he doesn't go out. And I'm like, what's your problem? And I look out and I'm like, well, there's no room for him. Raccoon, deer, all on the porch, like on my deck, trying to get at the bird food. The chickadees are in the nearby tree going, this sucks. We just moved down the food chain. And the magpies are wondering, can I dive in there and get something? And I finally kicked the cat out there and say, you all sort it out, man. But
yeah.
It's become a jungle out there.
Well, fun fact for you, Mindy Peep's favorite bird is a magpie.
No way. And
Yeah,
see, a lot of people in the West hate the magpie.
Yeah, not Mindy Peep, not our favorite voice of Wyoming football.
I hope Mindy Peep knows this Ian Tyson song about the magpie.
I don't know. I'll have to ask her.
You have got to, it's the only song I know of that's about the magpie. Ian Tyson,
okay, writing it down.
Canadian cowboy singer. He's got a song called simply Magpie. I can play a little bit for you before we hit copyright infringements, but it's the only ode to a magpie you're ever going to hear. Oh, it's so cute. She must know it. She has to.
Bull chest, magpie. You're an early riser, magpie.
Oh, you gotta love it.
That's adorable.
And it's even towards the end, it even has the magpie chirps and stuff it does.
Oh.
And
I'll play it for her this weekend. We're gonna go fishing, maybe.
Oh, it's so good. You got to play it. Yeah, magpie's one of only 4, I believe, North American birds that is longer than it is wide. Most birds have a wingspan far wider than how long it is, but the magpie's got that long tail. So it is actually longer than it is wide. There's not many birds that are like that. Only 4 in North America. So look that up.
Yeah, will you ask me that next week on trivia?
I will. We'll see about your retention. Occasionally, I bring back a question to see if you're paying attention.
I'm going to write it down.
Class, are you paying attention? Yeah, that's going to be a trivia question coming up. All right, let's get into trivia.
Okay.
Which freezes faster, hot or cold water?
Hot.
How did you know that? Oh, wait.
Because, I did do learning in school.
You did do learning. You did. I did some of that learning stuff.
Yeah, I had to take a lot of chemistry in college.
You are correct. When you're filling the ice cube tray, fill it with hot water. Those ices will freeze faster. Scientists
and you see the videos of people who will, take boiling water and throw it up in the sky and make it magic. And so
there's science behind it. Scientists are divided on exactly what's going on, what's at work. I think the most accepted theory is in its hotter state, water, the electrons in water, whatever makes up water, H2O, right? The electrons or whether the H's or the O's are spinning faster in hot water than they do in cold water. And that energy or that spinning is what's needed to eventually turn to ice. would be the change of the state of water. So having it spinning and moving faster is like you're halfway there. So hot water freezes. It's so weird.
So science.
So science. Let's go from science to something easy. Candy. M&M's introduced Fruit Chews. Never did catch on by that name, but today it's very popular. What is it? What candy?
Oh, man, I don't know.
Originally, M&M Fruit Chews.
Originally, M&M Chews would maybe be, I mean, are they Skittles?
Good guess, though. Very good guess. What's another? I mean, Skittles and also starts with an S, and it's super popular. Same type of.
Smarties? No.
No.
Not really. No, that's not a chewy candy.
Yeah.
Starbursts?
Yes. We were looking
Really?
for Starburst. Yeah.
The yellow ones are my fave. What color is your fave?
Of the Starburst?
Yeah.
Pink. And you never get enough of them.
Okay.
There's
what
always-
flavor is pink, actually?
I don't know. It tastes good, though. There's always too many yellows and too many oranges. I don't like orange in Starburst.
Isn't it weird that we can say the flavor is pink, but really it's not? It's the color.
The flavor is
The
pink. Cotton candy. I don't know. It's pink. That's the flavor and the color.
Okay. Okay.
You've
Next one.
heard of the Appalachian Trail, right? Have you ever hiked it? It's back east, Appalachian Trail, famous. Some people have hiked it beginning to end, all the way. How many states does it pass through? And we'll take within margin of error of 2.
I would say 3.
The Appalachian Trail, it's wicked long, Abby. It takes you months, maybe a year to hike it.
And it's on the East Coast where there's all those small states. you know?
Yes.
It's not like Wyoming or Montana. And
Right.
Colorado.
Right.
I don't know. 6.
In
12?
6 you could go through in one day if you're a good hiker. No.
I don't know.
14 states.
Whoa.
This may take you back. I know you're a youngin'. Cartoon, Flintstones. What's the name of the dinosaur?
The Flintstones. Is it Dino?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
I'm on fire.
You are rolling.
Somebody call the fire station.
Let's keep it going. She's on a heater. By U.S. law, exit signs must be one of 2 colors. You know them both?
Green or blue?
Green and exit signs. Close your eyes and picture an exit sign.
Red?
Yes. All right. Good job. Good recovery. This should be easy if you just reason it through. Which month is National Ice Cream Month?
January.
What planet are you on? Do you live in the southern hemisphere? Are you eating ice
July?
cream? Correct. Oh my goodness. That's an Abby moment right there. I'm like marking that for replay. This is a good replay. January. Cillian Murphy, if I'm saying his name right, you know who he is?
You're not. Killian
Murphy plays a 1900s mob boss in Birmingham, England, in which TV series streaming?
Peaky Blinders.
Correct. I love that guy. I love that show too. Peaky Blinders, really good.
Such a good show. You got to watch it with subtitles though, if you really want to know what they're saying.
Right, you do. I struggle with that. Whether it's the brogue, Scottish, English, I really have to strain here. I put the subtitles on as well.
Yeah.
I closed caption that to death. Yeah.
Okay, that's like I've got like 30 right already. Okay, I feel
Yeah,
it.
and this one's right in your wheelhouse. Before embarking on a solo career, Beyonce was part of which R&B group?
Destiny's Child.
Yes, that's in your wheelhouse.
That's too easy.
What year did the comedy sketch show Saturday Night Live debut?
Oh, 50 years ago. So whatever that was. Somebody do the math for
I
me.
know. I knew you would know the 50-year anniversary, but then I knew the math
So
would
is that
show.
60 years? I can't do the math. I don't know. 1965, 65? Ugh, this is going south fast.
75,
75, okay.
which is Hannah's favorite band. The 1975. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love them too. Okay. Pretty easy. Just think it through. It's not a trick question. Which grows faster, fingernails or toenails?
Fingernails.
Correct. Which popular condiment was once sold as a medicinal cure for diarrhea?
I don't know, ketchup. I can't think of.
Correct.
I was gonna say the condiments are kind of like how many were. That's got to be one of the original, right?
Yeah, like an old one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, little piccalilli, as Ed Norton would say. Okay, let's go back in the Wayback Machine. This probably predates you, but you should know this. This is regular American lore. The Tonight Show. Johnny Carson's longtime sidekick was who?
No clue.
Come on.
That's so before me.
I know, but it's an iconic show. The Tonight Show. Johnny Carson and his sidekick, the Ed McMahon.
Oh.
Okay, this one comes with a hint just in case. I don't think you'll need it. It was her first Billboard hit. Wait, how do you ask the question? Do we need the name of this? Oh, Holiday was the first Billboard Hot 100 single for what singer?
Madonna.
Yes. Excellent. You didn't need the clue. Let's check you out on literature.
Oh, shoot.
Don't give it away. That it's your weak spot. What Charles Dickens novels begins with the sentence, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times"?
I don't know.
Famous book.
I don't really even know anything that Charles Dickens has written, like off the top of my head. You know?
Jimmy just texted in, "You're fired." Oh, whoops. A Tale of Two Cities.
Oh, yeah. My aunt is probably so sad. She was a librarian. She's probably very disappointed in my performance on that.
That's all right.
And I bet you my good friend Jordell is very disappointed too. She's probably just, I let down a lot. I let down a lot of people.
Well, this
right there.
whole Ask Abby segment is one big apology to all the people you know. Yeah, that's what it's become. Within a year or two, when did World War I begin?
Oh, I don't. World War I.
Yeah, the big one or the first one.
World War II was in like the 1920s, right?
World War II was when the Japs bombed us, Pearl Harbor. So it was more like mid-40s.
Mid-40s?
For two. So when was World War I?
Before that.
Yes! We'll accept it. Remember all the troops came home and gave us Spanish flu. That started in 1914.
Oh, okay.
Here's one you should know because you're a bartender.
Okay.
What president was a licensed bartender?
I don't know.
Let's just say he was so honest, he would always give you correct change.
Oh, that was a solid clue. Old Abe?
Abe Lincoln was a licensed bartender. Huh. What was the first president to visit all 50 states?
I'm just guessing. Jimmy Carter. I don't know.
Close, sort of, in time. Richard Nixon
Oh,
would be the answer. One more on the president bent, since you're doing so good.
yeah, crushing it.
We've just had back-to-back geezers for presidents. Who was the youngest U.S. president?
Was it Barack Obama?
Oh, that's a pretty good guess. But no, it was Theodore Roosevelt.
Really?
Here
Old
comes
Teddy?
Teddy. Yeah, here comes some geography. You're so good at that.
Oh, yes. Wow.
California shares a border with what 3 states?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Nevada.
What's Oregon
Yes. You're 2 for 2.
and give me a hint.
It's pretty hot, really hot. Everybody goes there in the winter. That's from Wyoming.
Arizona?
Yes.
Okay.
All
I
right.
was going to say that, but I thought it was yeah. All right, cool. Okay.
What
I'll
state?
take 2 out of 3.
What state is known as the Badger State?
Arkansas?
Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, cuz I see their now I see it in my head the logo. Their
like college
team.
football.
Yeah.
Which travels faster, sound or light?
Light.
Oh, whoops. Correct. Just a couple more now, Abby. You're doing really well. Stay with it. What country artist threw javelin while attending Oklahoma State University? You would see him out in the track and field, chucking the javelin. Spear thrower. Country superstar.
Play me a song.
Huh. That's a good idea.
I'll get it in like 3 seconds.
Okay.
5 seconds.
Here's your hint. Whoops. I got to spell it right. Okay, here we go. Ready? Oh, file not found. That's not good. All right, here we are.
Jimmy Buffett?
It does sound like Jimmy Buffett. You want him to sing? Hold on.
Garth Brooks.
Yes, or this one.
All right, Mama would wait for that.
Garth Brooks threw the javelin at Oklahoma State University. Interesting.
That is interesting.
Here comes a tough one musically, and this is going to predate you, but my goodness, I'd be so disappointed if you don't know this. What artist recorded 1950s classic hit Beyond the Sea?
My lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships.
Oh, classic, Abby.
That's not Sinatra, is it?
Kind of a Sinatra wannabe, probably. Bobby Darin, the correct answer. And finally, first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Pat Benatar. I don't know.
That's a pretty good guess, but not correct.
Play me a song. Play me a song. Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah. Really?
All right, Aretha.
Yes.
Good work. Good work, Aretha.
She finally got some RESPECT. Okay, excellent. You performed very well in today's trivia. I'm impressed.
Thanks.
Enough that we're going to release you from this work assignment. And by the way, we would love to see you twice a week. Think about it. Ask Abby segment every Thursday in the final hour. Thank you, Abby. Have a great day.
You too.
Awesomeness. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back to wrap up this morning's stories in the Cowboys State Daily Morning Show with Jake.
Wyoming is a place of unlimited potential, a place that inspires us to dream. Since 2014, Wyo Lotto has given back over $180 million to our great state through transfers, winnings, commissions, and more. Dollars that have gone directly into your cities, towns, and counties. Dollars that have changed lives and set dreams in motion. Thank you, Wyoming, for a legendary 10 years. We can't wait to dream up what's next.
What is the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, and why does Wyoming need it? In 1990, the U.S. Supreme Court tried to give government more power to step into the First Amendment religious rights of Americans. That decision concerned so many people that in 1993, Congress passed legislation called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. That happened in a nearly unanimous bipartisan vote. This legislation simply returned cases on religious freedom to the long-held standard that the Supreme Court had tried to overturn. Since that legislation only applied to the federal government, it was also determined that each state should pass its own laws protecting religious freedom. Since then, 28 other states have passed these kind of laws, and even more have court opinions providing similar protections. Sadly, Wyoming is not one of them. It's time for Wyoming to defend the First Amendment and pass a Wyoming Religious Freedom Restoration Act.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Those 9 months were also 273 days of planning. What about your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. And let's not forget those barbecues you plan in detail for your family and your more vegetarian by the day best friends. That surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Year after year, we continue to serve new neighbors across our state.
For over 40 years, our trust in wealth management services have grown our roots in Casper.
And now we're excited to have offices in 3 Wyoming cities.
We're here to help you achieve your financial goals
and provide the kind of service that you expect from a Wyoming business.
Because at Hilltop Bank, community means Wyoming.
Cowboys State Daily Show returns in the final hour as we wrap things up for this Thursday. Let's do this day in history. We haven't gotten to it yet. This day in history, 1792, President George Washington signed an act creating the U.S. Post Office. Happy birthday, USPS. It's not what it used to be, but hopefully we can make the post office great again. We'll see. This day, 1899, an act giving the sum of $1,500 for a Heroes Monument Fund in Wyoming was passed. On this day in 1911, Governor Carey signed a bill carving Lincoln County out of Uintah County. Happy birthday, Lincoln County. This day, also in 1911, dogs were barred entry into the state by Governor Kendrick due to concerns over rabies. That needs more explanation. and more exploration. On this day, February 20th, 1913, the legislature approved $2,500 for placing markers along the Oregon Trail. They looked like this. There's one of them I'm showing on the podcast product. A good example of these very first markers can be seen right here in this photo, featuring a bronze medallion, something that Bill Sniffen has talked about numerous times. The Oregon Trail should be more popular or more recognized than what it is. This day, 1913, $2,500 set aside to make those markers to show everybody the Oregon Trail. This day in 1923, the legislature experienced a 56-hour day in a questionable legislative trick designed to keep the clock from winding up on the session. This trick has been repeated twice since then, but this one was the record. Just reinventing what is a day on this day in 1923. Only lawmakers can do that. As previously mentioned when we talked to Don Day, our meteorologist, we noted that this day in history, February 20th, 1949, was the last day of the blizzard of 1949. It was actually a series of blizzards that just hit in rapid succession, and it was a monumental blizzard. Haven't had one like that since, really. In 1951, Riverton, a fire destroyed several buildings, including the Ben Franklin store. One man died in that fire. On this day in 1957, Governor Millward Simpson signs a state civil rights act. The death of Alice Roosevelt Longworth was noted on this day in 1980. She was the first child of Theodore Roosevelt, his only child by his first wife, Alice, and the last of his living children when she died in 1980. And on this day in the 1982, University of Wyoming's Arena Auditorium opened, the AA, where they're still playing some basketball today. We'll keep a look on this weekend's basketball games tomorrow when we take a look at weekend sports. All these things happen on this day in history. Picking up a couple of more stories we haven't gotten to. Snowmobilers are about to pay more to ride on Wyoming's premier trails. This is a new bill that's heading through the legislative session. It was written by Zachary Sontag, Cowboy State Daily, and the bill would boost the price to put a sticker on your snow machine. The bill would hike annual registration fees for snowmobilers to ride on Wyoming's premier trails. House Bill 4 would raise the annual registration fee for in-state snowmobilers from $35 to $50. And if you're from out of state and you need this sticker, which you will, the cost from registration goes from $105 to $150. That story in the Cowboy State Daily. Sheridan, Gillette, Newcastle, man, we know you have been freezing. It's getting a little bit better, but you set records in those cities, Sheridan, Newcastle, and Gillette, records that stood for a long, long time, going back all the way to 1929. It was minus 27 degrees the other day, breaking the previous record that was held for, we'll do the math, 1929. Long time. So congratulations for that, you folks in Sheridan. A little bit warmer today. Well, that's going to do it for us on the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, for the Friday edition. Meanwhile, have a great Thursday. Can't wait to see you again.
Good morning. This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up.